Morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting for December 10th, 2019. I'm going to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices you may have. If you please rise for the invocation and the pledge at this time.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence, and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Here. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given the opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during the public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on future board agendas or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during these individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 p.m. It is requested that when you address the board, that comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or team member, but rather directed to the issues. This provides mutual respect between the board members and the public. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound, a light on the timer will change from yellow to green, or actually from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound, the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating that 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments at that time. And I have 3 people lined up to speak. Well, first, I'll get this one. Okay. Actually, we're going to, Joseph Marina from Withlacoochee River Electric. We have a special presentation. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? I brought my little friend here.
So we'll have name and address for the record, please.
Yes. My name is Joe Marina, District Manager with Coochie Electric, 21st Street, Dade City. Good morning, Chairman Moore, Commissioners, Administrator Biles, Attorney Stein Snyder, and Clerk Alvarez Souls. As you know, Withlacoochee Electric is based in Pasco County. We are a member-owned, not-for-profit company. Giving back to the communities that we serve and our members are a top priority. Here's some examples. Scholarship program that we have. This year, we will be awarding 110 scholarships worth $11,000 each, potential payout of $1.2 million. Since 1997, we've awarded 1,974 scholarships with over $13.3 million potential. We also have a program called Operation Roundup. We've helped 621 families through catastrophic events. Since that program's inception in 1994, we've awarded over $2.1 million. Most currently, we're involved in helping with mental health. We have embarked on a project called the Vincent House Project, and we appreciate the county's help. Thank you very much. Again, we do appreciate the excellent working relationship with Pasco County. This year, we are awarding, in total, $21 million back to our membership. And on behalf of our CEO, Mr. Brown, our board, I would like to present you with, of course, this big old fake check, but some real checks here. And your refund to Pasco County Commissioners is $318,780.
Excellent. And I will take that at this time.
Yes.
But actually, you can hand it to the clerk, 'cause I don't touch the money, so.
That's right.
Thank you for that. Well, we're much appreciative. You guys do great things in the community, and you continue to, and we're very thankful on how much you do give back in so many areas, Joseph. And I think, since you do have the big check, I guess it's only appropriate that we go down there and take a photo. So if I can ask the whole dais if you'd like to come down.
Yeah, it's money. I'll put down.
All right, Joe. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you. You sure this one doesn't extend?
You can fold it, you can take it, and not.
Grab a hold of it. Got a couple more. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on, I do have, and I apologize that I can't read the last name very well. It's Gerald Novotny, is that right? Novotny? Novak, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
And name and address for record, sir, please.
Gerald Novak, I represent American Condominium Park, Zephyr Hills. We're a resident, a community of 307 units. And before I start with my presentation, I'd like to thank the commissioners that have helped us in the past when we were fighting Aqua Utilities. Jack Mariano, I remember we worked together, we talked together, and made some trips to Tallahassee. And Ron Oakley, I remember you as well. Anyone that else, those are the two that come to mind. Thank you for all your efforts. This morning I'm here to talk about a project. Again, I said I live in American Condominium Park, and we are on State Route 54. We are between Lake Bernadette and Zephyr Shores, and to the west of us is Crystal Lake Mobile Home Park. 2 years ago, Crystal Lake Mobile Home Park started a development to expand to up to 500 homes, and they got pushed back to an additional 250. As part of their development, they built a 4-acre pond that is adjacent to our community. Before the commencement of construction, we were told that none of the water from the new pond was going to come into American Condo. It was going to go into Lake Bernadette. That has proven to be false. In, I'll say March, they started constructing this 4-acre pond right adjacent to our pond. And about March timeframe, our fence came down and this 30-inch concrete pipe came into our property, which we did not expect because initially we were told we weren't going to get their water. In August of 2018, we started to get water, and it was turbid water. And we went over to see that community, and they kind of stonewalled us. We went and saw the contractor, the superintendent. We were stonewalled again, so we've not been able to get any information. They built the pond too close to our property line. There's supposed to have been a 10-foot buffer according to the drawings, and they've got it right against our property line. They're not supposed to discharge turbid water according to Southwest Florida Water Management District, aka Swift Mud. But they've been discharging it for over a year. I've got a handout here that I'd like to present to the chairman.
Move to
And
accept.
I've only got a few seconds left.
Second?
Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes, thank you. You can please name to the clerk, she will pass it out.
In a sec, you're not going to read it now. This is for after.
That's fine. That's fine.
Swift Mud has done nothing for over a year. They've allowed this turbid water to come in. They've allowed the water to come down off their bank and saturate our property. Our fence line now sits in water. I guess I'm done.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, if you can hand that to the clerk, and then the clerk will get it to all of us. You can just, right, well, you don't have to go way down, Nikki.
Yeah. I was told there was only going to be 5 commissioners here, but I brought 7.
Okay,
Whoever
great.
had
Well, we need one
I'm
for the
sorry.
record anyway, so thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And, got somebody here, Mike? That can talk to the gentleman? So, sir, Mike Kerbala has somebody he can point you out to that can have a further discussion with you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
The last person signed up is Larry Lewis.
And if there's anybody after Mr. Lewis that would like to speak, I'll ask that you line up now. If I don't see anybody line up behind Mr. Lewis, I will cut off public comment. No, you're up. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else that'd like to speak behind Mr. Lewis?
I was surprised that I was only third on the list and, nobody else was up here doing it.
Yeah, we don't get as many public comments, speakers in this side of the county as you do on the west side.
Well, I'm the spokesman for the Coolwood and Kyle.
Name and address for the record.
Huh?
Address too?
Okay, my address is 37339 Northside Drive, Zephyr Hills, Florida.
Great, thank you.
So I'm just on the outskirts of Zephyr Hills. Our main problem is with the expansions and everything going on in the last few years, the road that runs from by Lowe's, that's Kazakh. Kazakh runs down into Coolwood. Coolwood runs over to Kyle, and Kyle comes out on Fort King. So it's a cut-through road is what it is. And I've been turned in a petition 2 years ago for have this road blacktop, Coolwood and Kyle, because of the housing development back in there, there's 30, 40 homes back there and along that road. And we get a lot of dust and stuff. Some people's got asthma. Some of them kids have to get out there in the morning to catch the school buses and with the dust and everything. And so now we're supposedly down in the blacktop. It's going to be voted on, maybe they said in February. But what my concern is right now, they said they were working on exemptions. And I feel we need exemptions because we're a cut-through road as far as the school buses and everybody else going through that road. So I didn't know how to proceed on this, so that's why I came to the commissioners meeting to find out.
So we don't have back and forth during public comment, but I can point you out to a team member, and they'd be happy to help you with that situation.
That would be great.
Mr. Kavala, once again, he's a popular person this morning. He will be happy to explain the process to you, sir, and everything, and answer any other additional questions.
All right, that's it, what I came for.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate your help.
Yes, sir.
If you can help me.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Dominic. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Dominic Scanavino, 6040 Riviera Lane, Newport Richey, Florida. Mr. Chairman, distinguished commission, thank you for allowing me to speak. I was at the meeting in October, and at that meeting I raised the question with regard to a golf course or ordinance that would consider the owners of the golf course, when they closed it, to continue to maintain the property there that the golf course sat on. I've been in committee. I've talked with many of the commissioners about it. The memberships are just amazing, being in the business of property management, that are constantly coming to my office asking for my help. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do without your help. I'm asking what the next step would be. I've sent you all an email in August. I've been to the meetings in October. I'm again asking what are the next steps for me to take in order to get this ordinance accomplished. I've sent you 2 examples of ordinances, which you have, I'm sure, have reviewed. I just need to know what the next step is.
Okay, thanks, Dominic. We don't do back and forth on diets.
I'm sorry?
We don't do back and forth
I
on public
understand.
comment, so,
Yeah.
but I'm sure somebody will reach out to you, or a staff member will.
That's all I'm asking for.
Thank you, sir.
You're
I appreciate it. Have a great day.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can we have Jeff maybe just go talk with him,
When?
like now?
Well, he's sitting up here. I need him up here right now, but he can, I'm sure they can touch base. Thank you. Okay, last up, sir, name and address for the record, and I see nobody else, so let me be the last person for public comment.
Ken Dabbs, 4617 Florimar Terrace, Newport Richey, way over on the Gulf. I just came to thank you all for working, and county staff for working on the Aquafugua acquisition. This is just a great thing. I know I've seen Jack Mariano at a number of meetings pushing hard for that, and also Catherine Starkey. And this is just the greatest thing for those people. I don't live in there, I don't own any property in there, but I've been there. The water's been outrageous, the pricing is outrageous, it kills their property values. This is a great thing, that's R7 and P10 today, so I'm sure you're gonna pass it, so thank you in advance.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Moving on. We do not have any resolutions this morning. So the next order of business is the consent agenda. I do have a pull sheet with the following items listed. Okay. We have a new sheet. Okay, give me 1 second here. C9, pull and revise. C37, pull and revise. C48 to C60 is a withdrawal. C65, pull and revise. C38, pull, withdraw. 61, pull, withdraw. C42, pull and discuss. C44, pull and discuss. Do the commissioners have any other items they would like to pull at this time? Seeing none, we will move on. Let's go.
Move to approve the remaining items on the consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to C9. C9. Johanna? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Johanna Rodriguez, Intergovernmental Affairs. This is just a revision to the term dates to reflect that Mrs. Saig's 3-year term began on December 2nd, 2019, and will end on December 2nd, 2022. Thank you.
Okay. Questions?
Motion to approve with revisions.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. C37.
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Chris Ward, Engineering Services Director. C37 is a correction to show the overall savings on the Wiggins Drive construction project. It's been corrected.
Questions? Comments?
Move for approval.
A motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, so C48 to 60 are withdrawals. Any questions or comments? Okay, moving on. C65 is pull and revise.
C65, Mike Carball, Assistant County Administrator, Public Infrastructure. A notary stamp was inadvertently left off. That has since been corrected and put back in your packages.
Okay.
Move to approve the change.
Second.
I have a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. 38, withdrawal. 61, withdrawal. 42, pull and discuss.
Oh, I just have a quick question.
Commissioner Starkey. Yep, that's right.
Maybe I don't recall, but this is in my district, and I don't know how this got going, and so,
Fox Ridge is not in your district.
Marine Ranch Road,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're on 42. Sorry, Mike.
Which one is?
are we on 42?
We're on
Yeah, You're on
C42.
42. Sorry, my mistake.
I just kind of would like to know what's going on in my district, and just so, I'm okay with this, but does someone get to me to?
We'll brief you.
If one of my constituents complained, I'd like to know.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, are you okay, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve.
You have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. And we have one more, C44.
Well, I really don't have to have this pulled. I just have asked Nikki for a list of other citizen boards in the county for MSBU's, and I'm still waiting on that. So whoever can get that list to me, I'd like to see the other citizen boards and how they operate.
There are only two others,
Okay?
and that would be Williamsburg and Quail Hollow, I
I'd
think.
love to see those then.
Those two are the only historic MSBU's that have had advisory boards. This one is being added, I assume, based on this year's tax event,
Yeah.
to get
So
input.
there's,
But,
so three.
so
then.
with the adoption of this, there will be three.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd just like to get some information about each one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one came about with the team, Mark Cabral's team, when I worked with them, we thought it would be best to have a citizens advisory board within that neighborhood. Not everybody was in total agreement on every issue within that, so we thought it'd be best to obviously bring them together.
Oh, I
And,
agree.
Yeah, and I'll be appointing some people with the staff to that, so.
Just so we will probably have one in Gulf Harbor, of course, as we
Oh,
move to
yeah.
our MSBU, and we just just want to have an idea of what we're doing in other places, so we have an idea of how to put together
Good.
ours.
Well, yeah, so I'm sure the team, once we get this one rolling, we can be happy to help you along. It'd be great.
Move to approve?
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you, that's it for the consent. Okay. Okay, now we go on to our regular agenda items. We do have either 11 a.m. time certain or immediately following the consent, so it is the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Sean Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director of the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. Our address is 4000 Gateway Center Boulevard in Pinellas Park, Florida. Mr. Chairman, I put together a brief PowerPoint, if I could, that tells you a little bit about the council. The activities of the council, I can start as that's being loaded. We're one of 10 regional planning councils in the state of Florida. We're also the original RPC in the state, about to begin our 57th year in operation next month. The region that we represent, including certainly Pasco County, is 3.7 million people, 6 counties and 21 cities, 5,000 square miles. It's our mission statement, Mr. Chairman, to serve our citizens and member governments by providing a forum to foster communication, coordination, and collaboration in identifying and addressing needs regionally. And if I might add briefly, Commissioner Mariano was elected to the executive board yesterday at the council meeting. So for 57 years, we've been promoting regional leadership, collaboration, leveraging our expertise and resources to access federal and state dollars and to reduce duplication and extend the value of public investment. This is the statute, Florida statutes, that talks about regional planning agencies, gives us the authority that we have. I mentioned the 21 counties, scratch that, 21 municipalities, 6 counties. Our board is also comprised of 13 gubernatorial appointees and 3 ex officios, that's SWIFT, MUD, FDOT included. Our staff is 10.5 full-time equivalents, representing collectively over 100 years of professional expertise. We do own a building, the council owns a building in Pinellas Park, it's 26,000 square feet. We lease out over 16,000 square feet of that to 2 nonprofits, Pace Center for Girls being one, and Healthy Start Coalition that helps young mothers with infants as another tenant, and we occupy approximately 10,000 square feet, less than 50% of the building. We are a designated economic development district with the Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration. This tells a little bit about what we do in terms of our regular contact on projects included in the region. Specifically, if I could, the last 5 bullets there talk about presentations that were made. We were awarded a competitive grant after Hurricane Irma, happened in 2017, to come up and work with primarily small businesses and small groups such as Rotaries and Chambers to help plan, prepare, and recover from disasters and to explain that to folks. We recently awarded another EDA grant, federal dollars, to develop a disaster recovery tabletop exercise. Many of you on the commission may be familiar with Hurricane Phoenix, which approximately 10 years ago the Regional Planning Council developed in partnership with members of the council and our region to talk about the, excuse me, flip here. Oh, going too quick. Wow, this really jumped around on me. Hold on a second, please. I'm sorry. There we go. Our tabletop exercise, we're going to simulate a Cat 5 hurricane hitting the Tampa Bay region. It's an update of a project we did 10 years ago. The feds are all in. The uniqueness with this particular project, Mr. Chairman, is that this time we will be involving small business directly. Since EDA funds it, they want us to do that. We've got a consultant team on board to help us out, and we'll be ready to roll this out in June of next year. Our economic analysis program, this is one of the strengths of the Regional Planning Council. We do have an economist on board, Director of Planning, Randy DeShaza was here with me today. This talks about the studies. We work regularly with the Pasco EDC. We do economic analysis of transportation costs, such as the recent Resilient Tampa Bay program with Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough. MPOs are involved. We were invited by USDOT, who funded that grant, to make a presentation in Washington, D.C. In early November at a conference on extreme weather events and resiliency, and I was happy to represent the council in making that presentation in D.C. Medical tourism. You may recall, Mr. Chairman, back in 2014, the council had an initiative, predates my employment, but the council had an initiative about medical tourism, and essentially it was a feasibility analysis. So at the end of the study, we determined it was not feasible to move forward with medical tourism and just don't see the market. What we found very specifically is that our folks in the medical community have proprietary information that I am not terribly willing to share. And without sharing that data, it makes furthering a feasibility analysis really next to impossible. We did the study. It's available. I don't recommend we move on. It's really not feasible, in my opinion. Some Pasco projects that we'd like to highlight. We continue to provide studies as requested, particularly to the EDC program, business development, retention incubator, microloan and trade programs. We're expanding analysis into environmental and health issues. We're currently working with Hillsborough Public Health Department on a diabetes study for public health. We're currently scoping a project here in Pasco for the aerospace industry with the EDC. Resilience. You may have heard, Mr. Chairman, the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Coalition is a product of the Regional Planning Council. It's the 18th type of initiative, resiliency initiative in the United States. We are having I'll get to that in a moment, having a summit in January to talk about the need for resiliency. We know Pasco County is one of 29 governments in the region that signed on to the initiative, and as of today, we've got 80 private sector business partners also signed on to the initiative. Back in October 18, we had our signing ceremony. I know all of you would know the gentleman on the left, top left picture, former Governor Christ. One of the things, Mr. Chairman, when we're presenting, talking about the Resiliency Coalition, we purposely stay out of the politics. It's not a D or an R issue. And as former Governor Christ and current Congressman Christ mentioned that day, he has been both. And he's all in resiliency. We know, for example, Mr. Chairman, that September of 2018 was the warmest September on record in the Tampa Bay region, and then October of 2018 was also the warmest October on record. So climate change is real. I'm not here to get into the science of it, but the science kind of speaks for itself, and when we work together, we think we can help become a more resilient region. That number since has grown to 29. The city of Bradenton last week voted to join the coalition. Briefly, Mr. Chairman, some of the visualization projects and graphic design projects that we offer. We did a project recently in the city of Newport Richey with Councilman Pete Altman. We presented this at the Florida Redevelopment Association conference in Tampa back in early November. Talked about the redesign, perhaps, of downtown Newport Richey, and then what if inland flooding were to occur, what the city could expect or anticipate. Emergency preparedness is another program that we offer. We work very closely with the Florida Department of Emergency Management. We met with Director Moskowitz, talk about our programs. We host quarterly meetings with fire and rescue professionals from throughout the Tampa Bay region. Pasco County Fire and Rescue participates in those meetings. We do specific site meetings and site analysis. This happens to be at the Tropicana plant in the city of Bradenton, Manatee County. In terms of environment, Mr. Chairman, we have an agency on Bay Management, which is really a subcommittee of the Regional Planning Council. They meet quarterly. They have a meeting this coming Thursday. Former Pinellas County Commissioner Barbara Sheen Todd is the current chair. Vice chair is Commissioner Mariella Smith from Hillsborough County. These are some of the programs that we work on. We also have, I know $100,000 isn't a big deal in the scope of your budget, but it's a big deal to the cities and counties, certainly in the region. We work with FDOT very closely. FDOT awards us money. We then work with Pasco County and other counties and cities in the region, and we appropriate $100,000 a year in smaller projects, but among the projects that are most common with that amount of dollars, vehicle wraps and storm drain markers. Because the goal is, it has to be public outreach under the federal program. We also have a GIS, a gentleman who's worked with us for over 30 years. He's really crackerjack at GIS systems. These are some of the evacuation studies and projects we've worked on with state partners and federal partners, and further maps that we produce. This is our resilience and durability program we talked about a moment ago. It's one of 10 pilot programs across the United States funded by the Federal Highway Administration, US DOT, and Pasco County is a main player in that program. The One Bay McIntosh Award, of course, is named after the former mayor of Dade City. And back in 2017, Pasco County, a connected city, which is a real cool planning project as a professional planner. One of the most innovative projects I've seen in 31 years in the business. These are Pasco projects over the years that have been part of the council and have won awards for their innovativeness. And that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions if you like.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you coming. Before I speak, I'll go ahead and go to the commissioners, probably start with the appointee. And congratulations on your appointment to the executive board.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good day. I didn't know it was going to happen. I thought it might happen, as I mentioned to the board before, so I was very happy to be appointed by my peers to work up all the way to the chairmanship again in 3 years. I want to say Sean Sullivan is a tremendous asset to the region. I think you might have been on the council when he was appointed. You guys did a great job picking him. Oh, that was you? Okay. Did a great job picking him.
Before my time.
And he works, I mean, let's face it, when the Regional Planning Council was formed, they did a lot of work on DRIs, planning, et cetera. And that's all changed. And I will say, before he got there, they struggled to try to find out what should they be doing, how to work it. The work that he's done, he just talked about, is like dead on the money. He's got the support of the region as well. When I look at the summit meeting that's coming up, we got our staff going to it, and I tell you, we need to plan better along this coast, how we're going to develop. You know, not just seawall issues, but retaining wall issues. What's the best way to develop and protect our resources? This resiliency effort that started in there, I think is going to do some great work. And I'm very pleased that we got the language that I wanted to get into this resiliency part, so we actually do some fundamental things to change the way we're growing up on the coast. So I want to say that, you know, you've done a phenomenal job. The leadership that's in the board, I think, is great too. Ron Kitchens from Citrus County just did a great job serving, and we're looking forward to more good things. And I think of all the times, this resiliency plan that's coming up is going to help us develop the coast, protect the coast. And if you've studied that Project Phoenix, Hurricane Phoenix coming in, you'll see the need for what we're doing here. And I'm fully supportive that we get behind you, and especially as I'm in the leadership position coming up, I think it's going to be a great few years coming up.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wells?
Yeah, Sean, I enjoyed the year I was on the board down there. You know, my dad before me was on the board. He was chairman back in the early 90s, I believe. And one of the things, and you and I spoke about this, is like, you know, return on investment's important to me. I know that we fund, and I know that we're doing things for the residents in Pasco County, but we don't know enough, you know, and I know this is probably the first time that you've come to present to us. I think that going forward, it would be nice to, and I know Commissioner Mariano comes back and tells us some things, but it's nice to hear from you to say, hey, here's what's going on in the region, here's what's going on in your county, showing, you know, what we're doing. It's one of the most difficult jobs we have is to educate the residents, and I know for you too, especially having 6 counties, but I just, again, it's good to see that because, again, I know you're doing things, but we want to be able to show the residents exactly what we're doing for the coastline here as well as up and down the coastline of the region. So,
thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Starkey?
Yes, I was on the board when we got to interview Sean. Would you mind just giving a little bit of your background before you came here? Because
Certainly.
that was one of the reasons why I really chose you.
I spent 20 years in land use and planning in 2 states before I came here, and then the last 7 years before I came here, I worked for the United States Department of Transportation, specifically the Federal Transit Administration. Had responsibility for the six New England states to appropriate money and review and approve environmental programs, anything that had environmental initiative toward it. And before, as you know, before federal dollars can be awarded on a federal project, all the environmental, particularly the National Environmental Policy Act, has to be complied with. So my role was to ensure the environmental compliance and primarily to help control and manage federal dollars.
So I always like to get someone who knows how to get federal money back down to Florida. So, thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Oakley, anything?
yeah, I appreciate you coming and giving us an update on what you're doing in our county because I've never been on that board, but I've heard a lot about that board. But you coming and telling us what you do in our county and support, and we appreciate that. The knowledge of that is very important to us. The environmental issues that we have in our county and other counties. I'm past chairman of the Swift Mud, and so I realize how important that is, and appreciate all that y'all do for all the counties you represent. Thank you.
Well, so, Mr. Sullivan, I do appreciate you being here today, and I have a sneaky suspicion that my comments made at a recent commission meeting is what triggered you to be here today, and probably with the help of Commissioner Mariano. And I will say, obviously, to reiterate what Commissioner Wells did state, is that, you know, us as commissioners, obviously, our bosses are the people in the audience here today. So it's important that we do know, you know, how we're spending their money. And for years, we really didn't understand that. I sat on there as an appointee many years before your time, before I was a commissioner, as a governor's appointee, and I scratched my head what I was doing there, because I didn't understand. And those that surrounded me felt the same way. Many of them did. Some of those folks today are in even higher positions within the state, as you probably are aware. So, you know, one of the things that was a disappointment to me is that when Commissioner Starkey sat on the board, she had come to us along with a representative from your organization and talked about the medical tourism. So commissioners, I don't know who else did, but I know Commissioner Starkey and I did solicit for funds to assist with that. And it was very disappointing. We never heard back. We never got a report. We never got an update. And I think my tourism director is still here. You don't have to come to the, did you ever get an update on medical tourism? That's a no. So that was what, 2014, again, before your time. Right. And then at one time it was scheduled on April 26, 2016, rescheduled to January 24, 2017. And then when the presentation was pulled because the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council was not ready to present. And that was the quote that I have from the response from public records. So, you know, when these types of things happen, I have to question, where are we making an investment? And just for the public's knowledge is that it's not a choice for us to be a part of the Regional Planning Council. We're required to by state statute, whereas cities are not required by state statute for some crazy unknown reason, but they're not required to. So, you know, I've had many discussions about how many boards and committees we have throughout our region, and that we don't have a choice. We're required to participate in so many, but we're also required not just to participate, we're required to make an investment. Actually, our citizens are required to make that investment. So again, my concerns always lie with are what are we getting in return? And again, so I do appreciate you coming today and explaining some of this to us. I would, you know, let me ask you one question. So I think 81% of your funding comes from membership dues, is that correct?
Yes, that's close. We don't survive without membership dues, no
Okay.
question. We help to leverage federal dollars with dues, but yeah, they're a critical component to our survival.
So you've done this for a long time, you received a federal grant that actually goes through you. I think it could even go through the DEO if it needed to, right?
That's correct, absolutely.
Okay, but it does go towards the Regional Planning Council as a whole and spread out.
Those are discretionary dollars, Mr. Chairman. There's no guaranteed dollars from the state after 9 years ago, and the former governor and the legislature changed the Growth Management Act. So we've really had to kind of reinvent ourselves. But dues are a critical component of our revenue, and then we leverage that for discretionary dollars both at the state and federal levels.
Right, and okay, I understand, I appreciate it. Again, you know, just me, and I've said this, you know, previously, just for the record again, I think as counties, we should have the opportunity to include ourselves or not include ourselves, not saying that we wouldn't be a part of something like this, but at the same time, I think, you know, again, looking at the state level, you know, to me, it just seems like another unfunded mandate that we're having to fund ourselves versus the state assisting us with this. We're required to participate. We have to pay the dues, but that's in question. We're not really sure if we do or not, but that's a discussion for another time. But I do appreciate you being here, and I think maybe going forward, I think Commissioner Wells did suggest it, if we could have some type of update.
Absolutely.
That way we don't get to this point again that you're having to come just for the fact that, you know, I question the payment of the dues.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments?
Just a couple of comments. Again, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. This summit meeting that's coming up, February 6th and 7th, we have a board meeting on one day. We've got staff going down there, and I'll tell you, when we did that boatyard development over in Hudson, it was on the canals that we couldn't get it developed. We had to break it all up, so the county commission did it. First house got built, and we had a problem with getting the final permit because of the way it was constructed and the way the permit was pulled, et cetera. But Sean come up here to go take a look at it, to study exactly, it's exactly the type of development we want to see. We want to see the raised seawalls, especially at the highest level. It may go higher if we study what Broward's done. And I think it's going to be, like I said, critical coming up. But he's taking the time, he's paying attention to what's going on, and I'm thrilled with his leadership there at the committee to make this go. So that summit would be a good thing to go. I mean, when you got Jeff Vinnick having his group in, the Rays are in there, there's a few other strong companies raising money. I mean, 180 people are coming to it.
That's right.
30 some odd sponsors in it, so the community's getting behind this thing. So much as I had the same struggles you had years ago,
I know.
we got a great direction right now.
Well, I'm glad you feel confident, so, and I appreciate it, and it seems like, obviously, our appointee has confidence in you, and I do understand that, so. You gonna give us a discount today while you're here?
Sure, absolutely.
On our dues? I'm just, oh, it never hurts to ask, right? And with that, I appreciate it, and you have a great day.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we have an exciting presentation. Always exciting when Bill Cronin comes to the podium, right? So, oh, actually, I apologize. My fault. I gotta put you back down for a second.
we'll bring it back in January. R2.
Yeah, I apologize.
Okay.
I jumped the gun. I've been sitting here staring at you the whole time, so you're right behind the podium. With that, we were going to have another exciting presentation with the graduation of our 2019 Citizens Academy. So who's taking the lead on that? Johanna? Good morning again.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Johanna Rodriguez, Intergovernmental Affairs. We're bringing before you the 2019 graduating class of the Pasco County Citizens Academy. But first, we'd like to share with you a short video we prepared with the Public Information Office team. The video highlights some of this year's sessions as well as comments from a few of the participants.
Pasco County Citizens Academy is a first-hand immersive look at how local government works. It's a great chance for us to educate participants about Pasco County services as well as to learn from them and share ideas about how we can better serve you.
I'm hoping to learn more about what the county already does, and with all the innovation and things that are going on in the area, looking forward to hearing what they're planning on doing in the future, and perhaps maybe I can get involved at some point.
And we decided to get more involved in the county and take the Citizens Academy to maybe get more involved on the solution side rather than just the complaining side.
I'm feeling a little disconnect with what's going on in the county and where I want the future of the county to be. I've never had a chance to be involved, so I wanted to come today and start off this journey of learning about county government.
Citizens Academy participants have direct access to leaders within the organization during question and answer sessions. We bring them behind the scenes to the facilities, equipment, and processes that serve our customers across 57 lines of business. The experience includes places that they might be familiar with, like our libraries, parks and government center offices, as well as places normally closed to the public, including our emergency operations and 911 call center, water treatment plant, and more.
I would recommend the Citizens Academy for a myriad of reasons. There's just a lot of things that you're going to learn here, and you'll learn to appreciate Pasco County even more by being in this program.
It's just a wealth of information that you don't normally know how to find on the websites, or just even people who have lived here for decades, or they say they don't even know half the stuff that I've been sharing with them that went into the class. So I think it's worth it. I mean, if there was like a second level to it, I'd do that too.
So if you want to learn more, come join us. We look forward to sharing how our people, purpose, and performance serves our communities each day.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Oh.
I'll say it again.
Well, we have certificates we'd like to present to the class on their completion of the Citizens Academy program, as well as some T-shirts. We'll present those now if you all would please join us.
Sure.
Down.
So before we do that, just if the other commissioners want to say anything too, we do appreciate you participating on that. I know it's a commitment too. It just wasn't coming one or two times. It was a commitment, and we thank you for doing that. I've heard from many people that have been in the Citizens Academy. I know Commissioner Starkey was a big part of helping to put this together in the past. I think you probably realize, that there's a lot going on in this county, right? In that we have great employees that really, really do care about their jobs and care about what they do, and they don't just do it for a job. And, there's also not a big pile of money sitting out back of this courthouse that we can just dip into and spend on whatever we want to. There's actually processes that we have to follow, and there's statutes that we have to follow, and there's land development codes, and there's a lot going on. And there's reasons that what we do as commissioners and how we do it, why we do it on a day-to-day basis, and what the ultimate result is. So I know it's very, very educational, and I do appreciate you once again, participating, because it is important for, a number of our citizens to realize what we do here on a daily basis and realize what our teams do. So we have a great team, and we're very appreciative of all of them too. Does anybody else want to add anything before we go now? Commissioner Starkey?
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and I would say that please, we used to do this twice a year, and I know that took a lot of staff time, but please let other people know that this is available so that we can keep educating our citizens on what their local government does and who we are. There's really no place in school where you learn what local government is and how they function. So this is our attempt to really educate the public. So thank you so much for your time.
So we are going to do it, Commissioner, we're going to do it twice again this upcoming year.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
there's another class starting in January.
Okay, that's great.
There you go. Your wish has been granted.
Good job.
Yeah. Good to know.
Does anybody else have anything else to say before we go down?
Just thank all the
Mariano?
citizens. I'll thank all the citizens for taking it. Commissioner Starkey, it was a great idea from the start, and it's been a great success.
Else? Okay, with that, let's go down. We'll hand out certificates and make introductions, right?
Sure. Well, if the graduates would please come up as I call your names. So, Katie Altschuler. Jennifer Birch.
Appreciate it.
Eileen Cochran. Chris Kahn. David Kukuza. Lillian Kukuza. John Evans. Nola Griffin. Bud Hamilton. Rosemary Jonason. Benina Jones. Russell Miller. Michael Orr. William Chastowski. Lisa Tomlin. Morgan Van Houten. Ebony Vaz. Laurie Webb. There's Rosemary. This is Rosemary. Congratulations. She just walked in. Congratulations, Rosemary. And Daniel McCullough. Folks, I'd like to present to you the 2019 graduating class of Pasco County Citizens Academy. We're going to do a photo opportunity. If everyone would please line up here in the front, and then the commissioners will stand behind us.
Right to my seat.
Yes.
This is good. This is good.
We had everybody except for one.
I love these photos. No, don't.
Everybody smile.
She is.
Hold on 1 second for me. And we got it. Thank you.
Just a reminder, during the board meeting break, we'll have cake and refreshments downstairs in the large conference room. Please join us.
Order 8 by 10 or what?
Okay. Now, with more exciting news again, we'll bring up Bill Cronin and Dave Ingo. R3 Economic Incentive Agreement. Confidential, Project Artemis, which is about to be non-confidential.
Not for long.
Right?
David Engel, Economic Growth Manager, Pasco County. It's my pleasure today to introduce
Encompass Health Corporation and welcome them to Pasco County. Encompass Health Corporation is one of the largest post-acute healthcare providers in the United States. They do business in 36 states and Puerto Rico. It's a publicly owned company traded on the New York Stock Exchange.
Good.
Oops. The property is located in the Bexley Ranch, MPUD, along Bexley Village Road. It's approximately 5.7 acres. The building will be a one-story freestanding building with an architectural facade that is very consistent with the design standards of that MPUD. It looks very residential compatible and suburban in scope. This is a qualified target industry, and it's initiated through the Pasco Economic Development Council, and Mr. Cronin is here today to represent the EDC. It's a one-story administrative office building. It's quite a substantial project. There's over $15 million in capital investment, 220 direct and indirect jobs, 179 will be working at this facility at a minimum. And it contributes over $10 million a year to the gross county product. So the ROI is over 10 to 1. The Pasco EDC offered to recommend to our staff and also to the Board of County Commissioners a $983,000 economic incentive package. The various features of the package are a job creation incentive for 117 of the administrative jobs, the mobility fee waiver that comes with Class A office construction, a 10-year ad valorem reimbursement. The first 5 years will be 50% of their ad valorem payment and 25% for the back half. There's an employee training grant to allow allow training of the new employees coming into the county for good transitioning. Lastly, on the dollars, there is a waiver for the county building permit fees up to $80,000.
I'll pause for a second. Can we,
And because this is a qualified target industry, we're also offering a rapid response team and expedited permitting, which is not only a time saver, it's a large financial incentive to the applicant or the company. So before I make a staff recommendation, I'd like to introduce Mr. Cronin, who's the CEO and President of the Pasco EDC, and representatives of Encompass Health Corporation.
Good morning, everyone. It's once again a great day here in Pasco County. We're really excited about this company coming in right into central Pasco, creating some wonderful jobs. And I think there's something to be said about having a publicly traded company choosing Pasco for a location for this regional operation. They will be serving 25 states here and Puerto Rico, so this is a real regional footprint for them. And these jobs are good jobs. As you all know, we've been focusing on our life sciences cluster and building that. We've had some recent announcements. This is going to do really well with those and complement that industry, as well as making sure that the future jobs here and the talent that we're developing in the life sciences area have somewhere that they can call home, and we keep those jobs right here. I think there's another important point to mention with regards to the MPUD, that we're starting to see these MPUDs now honoring their employment entitlements and rounding out those developments. So now this development has true live, work, play at their development. So you've got residential, you've got jobs, you've got retail, and that means less people potentially on the road. You can actually live here, work here, and shop here. So we're starting to see those all take shape. And of course, it's a really strategic location right at 54 and Suncoast, near the airport, another one of Pasco's fabulous gateways for the rest of the world when they come to visit us and visit Encompass. So I want to introduce a couple of the leaders of Encompass, Diana Dare, and she's the director of the Central Business Office, as well as Brian Hoffman, who are here visiting, and they can share with you why they chose. You guys know I'm the hired help, so I'm a little biased about Pasco, but I'd love to hear what they have to say.
Morning.
Good morning. First, I'd like to, on behalf of Encompass Health and our staff, thank you for the consideration in helping us grow our workforce in Pasco County. I know when speaking, Diane and I were speaking of the location, it's ideal. There's a lot of exciting things going on in that area, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Excellent. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, thank you for your support, and we're really excited about our new operation. The new building will allow us to have a lot of amenities for our workforce, fitness center, walking trails. We really like the setting of Bexley and the walking trails and bike trails in that general area. And yes, I totally agree with the work life. You can literally live across the street from where our building is going to be. So we're very excited about that. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Anything else, Bill or Dave, before we move on?
Yes, one last thing. I'd like to recommend this to the board for a affirmative vote, this incentive package and cooperative funding agreement.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming today, and obviously, you should be in Pasco, right? I mean, this is the greatest county there is. So it's the fastest growing county in the Tampa Bay region, if not the fastest growing in the state of Florida, and we know it's one of the fastest growing in the nation. So again, as we always say, we like to invite companies to come to Pasco. It's very important for our citizens to be able to, you know, and for the better quality of life, to stay close, live close to where they work on a daily basis. We prefer our citizens to stay here in Pasco than have to go outside the county. So we appreciate you being a part of that. But again, you know, we say it all the time now, and you hear it all the time, you got to be in Pasco. You know, this is where it's happened. This is where it's at. So we do appreciate you being here, and I'm sure our citizens and will appreciate it too once they have an opportunity possibly to work with you. So any other questions before we make a motion? Question, Mr. Wells?
Real quick, excited to have you here. I know staff's worked very hard to work it out. The building's going to look great. We're excited to have you, and this is an example of a mudroom project that is working out, and it's excited to have you in District 4, but really in the county, and it's just relevant to our workforce we have here that you're going to be employing. It's exciting, so very, very excited, so thank you.
Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take this.
We'll go ahead and join you guys for a photo, and then congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's come up. We're going to go in front. Yeah, that way he can get a wider shot. He's going to have it stand by.
Watch out behind us.
Okay. Mr. County Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is yours. Actually, Mr. County Administrator, we'll go to you. Do you want to do R4, or do you want to go ahead and move to R5 and R6?
Why don't we do 5 and 6, and
Let's
we'll come back to R4.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move forward to R5. Dave, you're back up.
Yes, sir.
Hello again, David Engel, Economic Growth Manager for Pasco County. I'm here today to present an economic development project. There are two items on the agenda. There's R5 and R6. I'm going to present them in a combined fashion, but if the board were to take action, it would be two separate votes today. The first item is a request to declare surplus real property and agreement for the sale and purchase of the Sprayfield property, which is 99-acre piece of land. It's owned by the Pasco County Utilities Department. It's on Old Pasco Road, about a third of the mile south of the overpass road intersection. Back in the spring of this year, we received an unsolicited request to purchase the property by the Rooker Company for $2,850,000. The basis of their request was they calculated there would be 57 acres of developable land associated with this property. The remaining property was designated wetlands, stormwater retention, hydraulic areas, and also some right-of-way for the I-75 interchange project and the widening of Old Pasco Road. After an extensive amount of negotiation, the purchase price proposal has been increased to $3,596,500. This amount is, we found doing our due diligence, looking at comparables and appraisals in the area, is far superior to what land is going for in this neighborhood of the county. The purchase agreement is contingent on the developer constructing economic development in compliance with the MPUD that was approved in the spring of 2018. And there's three conditions of sale. One is that the developer in the county entered into a cooperative funding agreement for the first phase of development, which is 400,000 square feet. The total concept master plan is approximately 900,000 square feet of industrial construction. The second component of the conditions are that Pasco County will remove the existing decommissioned wastewater infrastructure from the site, regrade the property, install the basins, and lastly, the company obtains all necessary land approvals for phase one. One of the nice features about this project is that the developer will be paying us for land that will be committed to right-of-way for road widening and also for the I-75 interchange. So rather than the county paying for the land, the developer is paying us for it. So it's very good terms. And on that, I'm going to go into the next item, which is the cooperative funding agreement, which is part of the project. So the developer is requesting incentive. The staff is recommending $3,700,000 of incentive. That amounts to $9.25 a square foot, which is the most economical incentive so far brought before the board since the penny was enacted in 2015. The project first phase, 400,000 square feet, is $26.5 million. It will create 427 direct and indirect jobs. The contribution to the gross county product is $48 million. That's a 13-to-1 ROI. And on that, I'd like to just make one amendment request on the sale and purchase agreement. We'd like to insert an amendment indicating that the buyer in the county shall, prior to closing, enter into an amendment to this agreement for sale and purchase of property that requires that A, prior to issuance of the first building permit for vertical improvements on the property, the county add the widening of the section of Old Pasco Road from the south entrance of the property to Overpass Road to 4 lanes and add it to the 5-year capital improvement program, and B, the financing by a party other than the buyer, design, permitting, and construction of the Old Pasco segment to be in place such that the Old Pasco segment will be complete prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for individual tenant premises for buildings within the project. In your package, you saw that we provided prototypes of the construction. It's attractive, tilt-up industrial-style buildings, and it's a scale and prominence that has yet to be constructed here in Pasco. And on that, I'd recommend 2 votes. The first vote would be on the declaration of surplus real property and the agreement for sale and purchase. And then the second vote would be on the cooperative funding agreement between the county and Rooker companies.
Okay, thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you.
Obviously, I know something you've wanted to see happen for a long time, Commissioner Mariano, as well as others. Excuse me. And I do appreciate the amendment that's been made, because you know the importance to myself and some of the other commissioners, which we brought up during the past board meetings, of that road being completed prior to any business being done. So it's very, very important to us, and it's very important to the citizens as a whole. But it's also going to be important, it's very important to the user of that property. But we want to make sure that's widened, so I appreciate that happening. And with that, any other additional questions or comments? And I apologize, Commissioner Mariano, Mr. Biles had to jump in.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the representative of the Rooker companies here, if you'd like to bring them up.
Yeah, and I do want to do that too. Let me go ahead and go to Commissioner Mariano, we'll do that.
I want to say this is a very exciting day. From looking at an old spray field that was hardly used because of the organics in there, to turn this over to the potential of the organics to now industrial space on a prime real estate in Pasco County. You know, and I want to salute the board for the way we talk things through, the way we get a dialogue going, that we have a conversation. You take one idea from a certain point and it gets better and better from good discussion. So I want to salute you all for just listening to me as I kept on bringing it, even from before you guys were even here, to make this come together. And I want to say, Bill Cronin, you are absolutely phenomenal. You know, we had the resources here, but the way that you can bring things in with the respect that you have in the community, the nation, internationally, is just amazing what you've done. And Mr. Engel, I want to say, you've been such a great source of enthusiasm and productivity since you just walked in the door. I don't care if it's a little point distillery working on something or something huge like this from an international company from Atlanta that's just looking for good investment. So I thank you all for the great work to make this project come. It's a great sign for Pasco County, creating jobs and making the most use of its resources. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Mariano.
Thank Commissioner Oakley.
I'd like to say, David, you did a great job, and the presentation you gave me was absolutely awesome. I mean, this is a great project coming into Pasco, and because I was the previous owner to this before it was sold to the county back in 1989, and to see this project come forward, it just, a part of me seems like it's growing. So it's a great project. I appreciate the fact that we're having a 4-lane road going in there at the time, and along with the overpass being built and the interchange, all that working together is going to be great for our county. So it's just one of those things that's just really, and I guess the rest of the commissioners realize this. We had that as surplus, and we just named that surplus a very few months ago, and then in fruition, this is coming to fruition so quickly, which government usually doesn't happen that quickly, but this is really coming together, and I certainly appreciate all the work you went into it, you and Bill Cronin, and all the work all your staff did.
I just want to reveal one secret. Commissioner Oakley sold us to the county for $10. Robert.
No, it was $1 million. It was $1 million, but it was both sides of the property,
okay.
One on the east side and also the one on the west side. But it was after a freeze in 1989 when our groves froze to the ground, and we sold that. And then, of course, that helped utilities start growing in the county. At that time, you go out to that facility now, it's grown quite a bit, so they keep adding to it. But the use of this property is great. I really appreciate all you have done to make this happen. So,
Commissioner Starkey.
Yes, thank you all for bringing this project to us. It was a pleasure to meet you the other day, and I'm especially excited about the prospect for manufacturing at the site. We had a wonderful talk about ant skills, and already yesterday I got a call from the Tampa Bay Business Journal. Snooping around your intentions, and so this is already out in the community. But it's what a great day for Pasco County with the 2 projects here in front of us. So welcome to the county, and we look forward to doing business with you.
Okay, let me go ahead and bring Rooker up.
This is Mr. Kason Boofy of the Rooker Company, Atlanta, Georgia.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kason Boofy. I am a vice president with Rooker.
and I will be the Rooker representative charged with developing the new Class A business park at Overpass Road and Old Pasco Road. Rooker is a privately held, family-owned real estate development business. The Rooker business that I work for today started in 1968 when Jack Rooker developed his first industrial building in Atlanta, Georgia. Since that time, Rooker has developed and constructed more than 50 million square feet of industrial facilities across the southeastern United States. Jack Rooker's son, John, is now managing the business, and he has set a strategy that has led us to invest in pro-growth municipalities in Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. We have a proven track record in developing business parks of this kind in public-private partnerships with government entities, and I applaud Pasco County for having the vision to create the Penny for Pasco program, rezone this property, and invest in the new interchange at Overpass Road and I-75. Each of those factors was critical to us. We look forward to working side by side with the county to attract quality jobs and grow the tax base for Pasco County and its citizens. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess in a moment, we may be able to welcome you officially. We still have a vote ahead of us. So,
It's iffy.
you know. Dave, anything else before I call?
No, sir. There'll be two votes, one for the declaration of real surplus property in the sale and purchase agreement, and the second vote will be on the cooperative funding agreement for the economic incentive.
Okay, we'll go with R5.
Go ahead.
I move approval for item 1 of the purchase agreement.
Second.
You want to declare it surplus first, so
Yeah,
okay.
we're
R5
on,
first.
We're on
Request-
R5, guys. Yeah, R5. Let me start. I need a motion for R5, please.
R5.
Second.
R5.
I have a motion for R5. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Got a motion for R6.
Then, real quick, before we go to R6, the amendment to,
That, he read it into the record.
okay, he read it in the
Yeah,
record, so we're good.
so-
Okay,
Yes,
so make sure.
I got a motion for
Very
R6.
important.
approval.
Second.
Motion with R6. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just another thing. Clark Hobby, thank you for help shepherding this all the way through as well, with all the details, working with the staff, so thank you.
Thank you, board members, and thank you to your staff. David Engel and I in particular worked on this, and David worked on this with the Rooker folks for 3 or 4 months before I even knew about it. So thank you very much to you all for your leadership and to your staff.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it. And besides the project, I'm grinning ear to ear because there's going to be a road widened there.
Thanks.
In addition to an interchange, right? Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so we can move backwards. We will go back to R4. And we this is the third time. You're like the star of the show, aren't you? You're like an A-class actor.
Well, it's the
this
end of the
morning.
year and we're cleaning up business. The next item, David Engel, Economic Growth Manager, Pasco County. I'm here today to present Mr. Mike Davis, the chairman of the Pasco Jobs and Economic Opportunity Committee. Every year, the board requires that the JEOC make an annual presentation. Just to give you some quick background, in 2015, the Board of County Commissioners enacted the rules and structure of the Penny for Pasco Economic Incentive Program, and as a result of that, they also created the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Committee to provide oversight of the Penny for Pasco Economic Program. So every quarter, the staff makes a presentation, very comprehensive presentation to the JEOC, going over the project status, the financials, what we're working on, our new initiative planning. And the JEOC then provides us with counsel and recommendations, guidance as to what we're doing. And every year, the JEOC presents their findings to make sure that the programs that we've been enacting are consistent with the requirements of the Board of County Commissioners, and they will make recommendations as they see necessary. So I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners. Thank you for spending more of our money. So now we have to deal with this next quarter. Just kidding. Middle one, thank you. So we're going to try to keep this brief for you guys. I know we're past our time. So our projected revenues for the JEOC trust fund, which is, again, you know, it's a 10-year penny for Pasco. We actually increased the expected amount to $64.22 million. This was assuming a 3.5% annual increase. This was actually increased from last year's projected $59 million based off of increased taxable revenues that we are receiving here within Pasco County. To date, the JEO Trust Fund has expenditures over $22 million as of December, actually, this is actually as of October 2019. The Board of County Commissioners has approved 16 items last fiscal year, totaling a little over $36 million for projects and programs, which attracted primary and target industries, sorry, that's feedback, to expand in Pasco County. The administrative cost associated with the trust fund is currently under 5% of the collected revenues. I talked too loud on that. My apologies. Here is a approved project summary that you guys approved, that the board approved last fiscal year. I'm going to kind of highlight a little bit of these just to reiterate. There's been a lot of things that have gone on last year. Some direct incentives, Metler Toledo, Safeline, True Simulations, Well-Built, our first three direct incentive recipients of the trust fund. Combined, these three companies have either hired or are in the process of hiring 854 new jobs in Pasco County, with average annual wages exceeding 200% of Pasco County's average annual wage. Additionally, these three companies have provided capital investments in excess of $54 million over 325,000 square feet of industrial space. These three projects alone are expected to generate an additional $137 million in GCP combined. So that's a pretty good, impressive number. The Pads and Pours program, which is the Pasco Accelerated Development Sites and Pasco Occupant-Ready Structures. They have Mitchell 54 Partners, HP Asturia, and Land Investment Partners, which are receipts of funding to create shell industry or office space to fill these much-needed voids in Pasco counties. These three projects will provide for an additional 385,000 square foot shell Class A office and industrial spaces, which could employ 1,200 residents. The cities of Upper Hills and Pasco County are in the process of creating job-ready sites that will have all major utilities and zoning for industrial and office users for up to 8.75 million square feet that could accommodate 12,000 new employees. Again, here's some more approved programs. Pasco Economic Development Council has awarded 3-year fundings to provide ready site programs, international programs, and Smart Start entrepreneurial programs and enhanced marketing programs. Part of our the project expenditures are listed here. The main part of this is our total expenditures that have been reported to the JEOC are in line with what you have approved through the Office of Economic Development. This is my favorite slide right here, because this is what is truly impacting Pasco County. Total jobs that have been created through this initiative is more than 2,308 jobs, which has a significant impact based on the expenditures that we've spent. The Paying for Pasco gave out or awarded just under $18 million, and our rate of return on that is $316.5 million. So that's a very good rate of return. I'd like to invest in that. So that's huge. That shows that the money that we are receiving, we are doing due diligence, and we are helping to increase the economy here within Pasco County. So we have some approved projects that are have been already substantiated and have been approved. Again, these are sites that have that you have already gone through and approved throughout the year fiscal year 2019. I want to highlight some major accomplishments, which you alluded to earlier in some of the presentations. AM Skills, we gave, or you awarded them $175,000, Point Distillery, $153,000, and they won PEDC Startup of the Year. Caldwell Avenue Properties gave an incentive of $1 million, or $1.5 million, sorry, and Pasco Hernando Workforce Board for reentry has also a little over $1 million. The overpass park that you guys were just making additional changes to for the future. A lot of this is already completed. This is again for fiscal year 2019, so things have changed over the last 3 months. And one of the other things that's not included in this is something that David Engel and Troy Jackson, one of his co-workers, has been putting in, is the, gotta find it here, the business loan redevelopment programs, which helps businesses that are undervalued, mainly that they're working on in the Holiday area, to make improvements on a loan basis. They get to pay it back. They're undervalued, so it's very difficult for them to get loans, business loans through traditional route. So through this program, we're able to reinvest in our business community and showing them that the Pasco County government is trying to help them. And in the long term, it's actually going to help them not only increase their revenues, but that revenues do end up coming back to Pasco County through taxes. So that's another avenue that under David, which he's been an awesome person to work with, has brought a lot of diversification to this program and is utilizing it very sparsely and appropriately. So that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Oh, listen, we appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
It's as a volunteer. And it's obviously important when we have programs like this to have that oversight and that citizen oversight, and it's obviously needed. It's great to have outside eyes like yours and the others that have participated. So we appreciate you. We really do. So with that, anything else? No?
Great day, David.
Thank you.
Good job.
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner Mariano.
Yeah, listen to Kason from Rooker just talking about the county itself and being pro-growth and viewed where they're going to look, is they want to look at the pro-growth counties in those certain states.
Yeah.
So for us to be in that group is phenomenal. So the leadership that you're showing, being on this committee, we greatly appreciate it. And David, again, between you, Bill, and the whole team, keep up the great work. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. No vote is required. This was forward to the board.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And with that, we're bringing up, we're going to skip R7. That goes into the afternoon after P10. So we're going to bring up R8, Adam Thomas. So public served DMO. So Economic Impact Visitor Tracking Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, fellow commissioners. Adam Thomas, Director of Tourism for Pasco County, 8731 Citizens Drive, Suite 135 in Newport Richey, 34654.
Well, you didn't need to draw.
No? Okay.
No, you're good. You're an employee.
So on the piggybacking off of all the great news this morning, I just want to present an informal presentation on the value of the economic impact and visitor tracking report for fiscal year 2019 for Pasco County. And the methodology of how we get here, we try to get 500 samples of in-person interviews on a quarterly basis, and you can see that our interviews are over 2,000 in-person interviews at local attractions, parks, hotels, and events between October 2018 and September 2019. The overall economic impact is a function directly of the spend by visitors in Pasco County, and they take that spend and implement it into their multiplier using in-plant economic model to calculate the multiplier effect based on direct expenditures and data from visitors to Pasco County. So I'm going to start off big picture economic impact, and we're going to follow it up at the back end with the post-trip experience. So big impact, economic impact for Pasco County in 2019. We were up $37 million year over year of economic impact for the destination. Direct expenditures, we were up close to $26.5 million that were spent on local accommodations, restaurants, groceries, transportations, attractions, entertainment, and shopping. Visitors, we crossed a milestone this past year in 2019, welcoming over 1 million visitors to Pasco County. Room nights, out of that 1 million visitation, a little over 1.2 million, up 85,000 rooms rented on an annual basis. So jobs and wages, you can see the job growth, even though these aren't real high-paying jobs and executive positions, we are still offering, or the industry is still offering ways to support family and the local economy and the local citizens here, creating a salary that's over $168 million in 2019. Visitors creating jobs. We know that in 2019 that over 132 visitors that came to Pasco County creates 1 job. Total tourist development tax revenue for, or we like to call it a user fee in the tourism industry, not a tax. We were up close to $500,000 year over year in new revenues coming in, which ultimately saved Pasco County household around $310 on their tax bill at the end of the year. Marketing spend, here's the return on marketing investment that your DMO office gets to provide the economy here in Pasco County. We know that every dollar that's spent on marketing, our marketing efforts, brings back another $447 of visitor spending inside Pasco County. So pre-visit, we know the top reasons for visiting friends and family at 24%, 14% was a sporting event, and 9% was also a special occasion and a vacation. Transportation, the mode of travel, this is changing year over year because of our marketing efforts, reaching a broader audience that's on a national and international front. We see that the visitors are actually using Tampa International Airport almost doubled than what they did in 2018. Our traveler profile, we know where they're coming from, with the bulk of our visitation coming in from in-state, narrowing down to the top origins. 60% of Pasco County visitors were from 6 U.S. states, and obviously 42% being the majority of share from Florida. Travel parties, 2.5 people come in a regular travel party. And we know that 35% of the travel party is traveling with kids that are under the age of 20. So length of stay, nothing has really changed year over year. We're still hovering around like 5.7, 5.9%. Accommodations, 37% stayed in hotels. 36% are day trippers. And then the post-trip experience. You know, we like to say how we did. 8.3% is a rating score that our visitors have given Pasco County on a scale of 1 to 10, and 95% will return. Again, very quick, we have a 109-page packet of the entire report in your board packet. Thank you so much for your support. The DMO team thanks you for all that you do for us and for Pasco County.
So thank you so much, Adam. Obviously, setting records again in a number of ways, but I think the big one was hitting that million person visitor mark. And we only know that's going to increase with all your efforts, but the efforts of obviously everybody in this room, staff, board, everybody that's involved. And you see what's online coming up with the Grassrand Sports Complex coming in next year, you know, and towards the end of the year, that will obviously help with those numbers too. But there's a lot of great things going on. So with that, do we have any questions, comments from the board? Questions, comments? Commissioner Starkey.
You can start over there. It gives Dan time to make sure my pictures have gotten
Okay,
to
Commissioner
Tracy.
Mariano.
You got it.
Adam, great news. I mean, I think, you know, looking back to the helping that hockey rink come in was a big thing for Wesley Chapel. I think the sports complex is going to generate more. I think it's what's driven those hotels to be built every step of the way.
Yep.
So exciting things. I think when you see people like tree hoppers building those extra amenities too, that are going to draw more people, so when they're staying there, they have more activities to go. When I look at the numbers, that the 14% come for sporting events, do you see that number climbing, obviously with the complex coming, but?
Yes, sir. We're going to see that climbing because the folks in the events that we're talking to now, we're not booking right now. We're booking them for 2021, 2022, 2023. So futures down the road, we'll see those events pay off.
Okay, one of the things we're looking in the future up at Sun West is to put a connecting walkway going across. Look at paving somewhere down the road with the bonds, maybe that'd be coming up.
Yes.
Are you having success, do you think, or you still need more help as far as like sand soccer tournaments and beach volleyball tournaments?
Cosmetically, I don't know if we're there yet. I know we have the space for it. I don't know if we have one shot of bringing these site selectors and tournaments in for a site visit. So I want to make sure that, talking with Keith and Parks and Recreation, that the park is up to
snuff?
Up to snuff, up to a level of where we feel it's ready for competition.
Well, I'll say this, our staff, since we took over October, has done an absolutely phenomenal job. I get more and more compliments every step of the way. So Keith Wiley and his whole team up there are doing a phenomenal job. Do you think having that dirt parking lot is like a detriment to the show to people what you have up there?
That's to be determined. I'm not real big on understanding like the parking lot, but I know people like to drive on asphalt instead of dirt.
Or grass.
Or grass. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't help you out with that one. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, just aesthetics with people. coming
Yes.
in.
It goes back into the amenities and what the park looked like
Okay.
when site selectors come. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wells, anything?
No, great. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you and your entire team, and it's exciting to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Stark, you have something?
So every year Thanksgiving, my family comes mostly from Miami up. This year I had 34.
Oh, my.
And we always do an adventure on Friday. And typically we've gone to Weeki Wachee and we've kayaked down the river there. We've done that maybe 6 or 7 times. Sometimes we go to the shooting place and sometimes we go to tree hoppers. But this year we decided to stay local, support local, being a local business owner now. And I didn't even know they did this, and I've been in that store twice. We hired Get Outside to supply us with kayaks, SUPs, and canoes.
Yep.
And I sent them some pictures. What happened? I was just speechless, and so I think this might be something you can recommend. We were supposed to put in at the Gray Preserve and do the Cody River. Unfortunately, the Gray Preserve kayak launching dock is underwater. So we ended up putting in at Francis Park, and we kayaked, or we went north, and then we went south to Sims Park. I did ask staff to help with the river, because apparently in the Pasco County section of the river, there are trees down that keep you from going further north. And I think Mike Carball was sending some people out there to clean that up. And it hinders their business a little bit, but I wanted you to see the pictures of how beautiful it is. And we don't have to drive up to the counties up to the north to get great, beautiful kayaking on rivers. Is something wrong? Huh?
You're downloading.
Okay.
Oh.
So, and my family just loved it. So, so get outside downtown Newport Richie. They will, you launch, they'll pick you up.
Be good.
And then we went
Oh,
for lunch. so-
Here we go. Looks like
Are they coming now?
looks like we got it.
Well,
You just turn your head to the side.
it was low
Oh, there we go.
tide. So, there
That's
was
fine.
beautiful birds along the way. Oh.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
There's some of the group going. We had canoes, kayaks, SUPs. I think 30 of us did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wakeboard.
And we weren't the only ones on the river.
Is this at Wonder Boys?
Upside down.
I would think it'd be more than that.
There you go.
I did clean up the river too while I was going. I didn't send you the picture, but
I'm
I.
glad Trey left his shirt on because we didn't
I-
get to see that picture.
Well, there's a good thing.
We went up, there's a turtle, that's the only turtle I saw in the whole thing, but we went up as far as Great Preserve, then turned around and came out at Sims Park, but, this is right off of Plath, but you feel like you're out in the wilderness.
I'm sorry, it's where? Off of-
Plath Road,
Oh, okay.
where we're, Commissioner Wells, have you ever gone up this river?
Yes.
Yeah, I have never gone up.
Mostly up the river.
Didn't-
Mostly fresh.
And my
Mostly
husband,
fresh.
who's been here
Mostly fresh,
for
sir.
56
Mostly
years,
fresh.
had no idea
practice.
that this was available
Yeah.
right here in Newport Richie. So
Yeah.
it's an option
It's a
for you
beautiful
and
coast.
your group sometime, and maybe go check it out.
Colby's out there right now with a media freelance journalist from Montreal at Warner Boyce State Park, actually showing them our estuaries.
Okay, and this is different from that?
Mm-hmm.
This is the Cody River?
Right.
It's just another watering opportunity. So anyway,
Awesome.
I was so blown away, I just had to share it this
Very
with you
nice.
guys.
Very nice. Commissioner Oakley.
What I'd like to say, Adam, is, and you know this too, there's this sports fest coming in February.
Right.
It's going to be a big deal in Zephyr Hills with tennis, skydiving, soccer, and a lot of different sports events happening right there in Zephyr Hills, and going to bring a lot of people in, I believe. So they're working on that project and sponsoring now. So, I mean, that's going to be a shot. All that you've done is great, but look what's happening in the coming year. It's going to even be better. So
Excellent. Mr. Chairman, 2 years ago, I stood up here in front of this board with myself and Consuelo in the audience. Today, we're about to hire our 8th team person next week, our digital content producer. But we've grown from a budget of $970,000 to over $3 million in 2 years, thanks to the support and the direction and guidance from this board. So I think, again, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks so much, Adam. We
thank you
appreciate
for
it.
everything, Adam.
Excellent. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Commissioner Oakley because we have a special guest.
Yeah, we have a special guest that came today. I realized that today was our last meeting before Christmas, and I reached out to this person and asked him to come by since he was going to be in the area picking up letters to himself and checking out his route for the 24th, 25th of December. And so he's with us today, so I'd like to present to you Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. Hey. and Mrs. Claus. And
Excuse
Mrs.
me,
Claus.
and Mrs. Claus.
Come on up. Wow. It's graced us with your presence today, even though you're, don't mind the pun, right?
Do you have my list yet?
I hope you brought your letters.
Everybody's been great.
So Santa Claus, your address is what, North Pole, right?
Yes, sir, it
Okay,
is.
just to make sure, for the record.
For the record,
For the
yes,
record.
absolutely.
Can you bring your toy manufacturing here? We have a great deal for you.
Well, we're not sure, are the elves eligible to come here?
That's great.
Well, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus do great work in what they do and really bring a lot of joy to the children in Pasco County and other areas too, but they've been close to my heart because they've done such a well job there. They actually have time. They will be during December. They will be back and forth, and they will be in the World War II Memorial where they will get pictures with children and families when they come to visit us. And I don't know if you want to add anything to what you do, or,
Everything we do is free.
okay, that's right, it's all free.
We're funded by private entities. Everything we do for the citizens of Pasco County is free. We don't charge, nor would we accept money from individuals.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
So
worked out.
probably I would need you to give me a list of when you'll be in the World War II Memorial, when you're traveling. I know you're busy at this time of year, but if you could get us that, maybe we could put it on the website where families and children know in the area that they could come and visit and have those pictures taken.
I'll have Mrs. Claus give you a
Okay.
full itinerary where we're gonna be, 'cause we're all over the place.
And Santa Claus is very, very familiar with Pasco County, too.
Last 30 years, yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, Santa Claus is, so.
The best county in the state.
So if y'all would like, let's go down and have a picture with
Yeah,
them.
sounds great.
And then if anyone here in the audience or anyone would like pictures with them in
Yeah, so we're
personal
gonna,
pictures, it'd be fine, but we'll adjourn, I guess.
so we're gonna, well, no, that's okay. So we're gonna go ahead and, this will be our official break now. We'll do some photos, and we'll break for lunch. And we'll
Yeah.
come back and do commissioner items after the regular agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of December 10, 2019. Remind everybody to please silence all electronic devices at this time. We'll now proceed with our public hearing agenda, starting with P2. We're skipping P1. We're going to P2. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of item P2?
Yes, we do. Item P2 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 22nd, 2019.
Christy Sims, County Attorney's Office. This is the first and final public hearing on amendments to an ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, amending Chapter 79, demolition of slum or blighted structures, to recodify provisions within Chapter 18, buildings and building regulations, removing obsolete and/or unnecessary language and provisions, providing for appeals process of substantial damage, substantial improvement determinations, including those related to demolition cases, to be heard by hearing officers instead of Pasco County Construction Board, providing for applicability, providing for repealer, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. We would ask the...
Christie?
Yes.
Oh. Has there been proof?
Yes.
She read it.
Okay.
Yeah, she read it. We would ask the board to hear public comment, if any, adopt the ordinance by roll call vote, authorize the chairman's signature on the ordinance, and direct board records to transmit the ordinance to the Department of State by electronic mail within 10 days after adoption of this ordinance. Briefly, as I said, this is a recodification of the provisions in Chapter 79 into the building chapter. I don't consider any of this to be significantly substantive, except for the appeals being moved from the construction board to a hearing officer, and the construction board is in favor of that, because those hearings are lengthy.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Do we have any questions for Ms. Sims from the board? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I don't have anybody signed up for this. Would anybody like to speak to this item?
Seeing no one, move approval.
Second.
This is roll call.
It is.
It's roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to P1. Do we have proof?
Yes, it was published in the Tempe Times on November 29th, 2019.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today is the adoption hearing for the Self-Storage Design Standards Ordinance in the Land Development Code, and I will read that into record. An ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, creating Section 1105, Self-Storage Design Standards, and amending Section 525, C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, Section 905.2, Landscaping and Buffering, Section 907.1, On-Site Parking, Section 1302.2, Mobility Fees, to increase the mobility fees for mini warehouse, Appendix A, Definitions, and other amendments as necessary to ensure internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, inclusion in the Pasco County Land Development Code, and an effective date. The vote for today was continued from November 19th, Board of County Commissioner hearing. The November 5th, 2019 Board of County Commissioner hearing had the first reading of this proposed ordinance. And back in October 24th, the LPA forwarded this proposed ordinance to the BCC without a recommendation due to the lack of consistency or consensus regarding the geographic applicability of Section 1105.5 General Design Standards. Since then, we've continued to have further stakeholder meetings and refinements to address any of the concerns the stakeholders might have had with the design standards. And we have made those adjustments, and we're ready to, I guess, accept any public comment if needed, and then to go ahead and adopt this proposed ordinance by roll call vote.
Thank you. Questions for staff in reference to this item? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up. Anybody like to speak to this item? Seeing none, it is.
See, no one, I would move for approval, but I want to say one interesting thing.
Second.
Is, and okay, under discussion, I'm sure you got the same emails, but I
Yes.
was getting emails to, you guys probably don't know this, for us to please keep the moratorium going because the folks who own storage facilities feel there's a glut on the market and their rental prices are going down. But as I said to them, that's not something we can control. So that's a market-driven thing,
Yeah.
and
That's very-
we don't do moratoriums for those reasons. So that's the end of my comment.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I know I would assume we all received the same emails, and I know when I initially started discussing this, I said, it's obvious there's an oversaturation in the market. I had people say there's not an oversaturation. Well, I think those people will, there's a little bit of proof that there is a little bit of oversaturation in the market. But that's not why we're here, but maybe we'll get some of those on apartment complexes too. So with that,
You got a motion or a second?
I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call.
District,
Commissioner Oakley?
So, I
Oh,
second.
no, I did, I'm sorry.
She made the motion, I second.
Starkey made it, yes.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Motion passes. Thank you. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we will proceed with the procedures for rezonings. Mr. County Attorney, please review the procedures for rezonings.
I should. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition to the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual, or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Thank you, Mr. Stein-Snyder. Madam Clerk, and actually, if anybody here is willing to, or wanting to speak to these items, please stand and be sworn in by the clerk. If you're here to speak to any of these items, so nobody's going to speak to these items all day. Because I know I have somebody that's signed up for one of these items, so I assume you're wanting to speak to the item.
Seeing no one,
Well, no, I know. I can't do that. I have somebody signed up for P3 by the name of...
Wayne Garber.
You guys are good?
Okay.
Okay, so nobody's going to speak on any of these items. Okay, moving on. Sounds great.
I don't see any land use attorney's name.
Okay.
But ask each time.
So, we have 5 public hearings item on the consent agenda. These items will be approved with one vote without a presentation unless there is someone here in objection. Items P3 to P7 on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of those items?
We do. All of the items, P3, P4, P5, P6, and P7, were published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 25th, 2019.
Okay. Your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Victoria Spitos, Planning and Development Department. Item P3 is a zoning amendment, Fisherman's Cove LLC. It's a change in zoning from RMH Mobile Home District with conditions to RMH Mobile Home District in the east central Pasco County at the southeast corner of the intersection of Clinton Avenue and Cove Lane, containing approximately 5.9 acres. It comes to you with recommendation of approval.
All right. Anybody here to object to this item? See none, leave on consent.
Item P4 is a zoning amendment, Theodore A. and Marshall K. Good, change in zoning from AC Agricultural District to AR5 Agricultural Residential District in north central Pasco County on the west side of Sharber Road, approximately 700 feet south of Good Road, containing approximately 15 acres. It comes to you with the recommendation of approval.
Anybody here to speak in objection to this item? See none, leave on consent.
Item P5 is a conditional use request, Pasco Ranch Inc., Parcel 1 Retail Building, sale of alcoholic beverages, 2-cop, beer and wine only on-premise consumption in conjunction with the operation of a retail center with outside seating and service of alcoholic beverages on a patio in a MPUD Master Plan Unit development in south central Pasco County on the south side of Sierra Center Boulevard, approximately 450 feet east of Marsh Bend Way. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions.
Anybody here to object to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
Item P6 is a conditional use request, Pasco Ranch Inc., Cigars International, also for the sale of alcoholic beverages, 4-cop, beer, wine, and liquor, on-premise consumption in conjunction with a specialty retail store and lounge with outside seating and service of alcoholic beverages on a patio in an MPUD Master Plan Unit development in south central Pasco County on the east side of Creekgrass Way, approximately 350 feet south of State Road 56. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions.
Anybody here to object to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent.
Item P7, a conditional use request, Osceola Land Company, LLC, Glory Days Grill, sale of alcoholic beverages, 4-cop SFS, beer, wine, and liquor on-premise consumption in conjunction with a restaurant with outside seating and service of alcoholic beverages on a patio in an MPUD Master Plan Unit development in south central Pasco County on the south side of State Road 54, approximately 1,500 feet east of Wiregrass Ranch Boulevard. Comes with approval with conditions.
Anybody here to object to this item? Seeing none, leave on consent. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on with the remainder of the public hearing items. Each one of these will be presented by staff and the applicant, and then we'll call for public comment by subject. P8. And do we have proof?
We do. P8 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 22nd and November 29th, 2019.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Derek Berger, Real Property Planning Division. Real Property Planning received a petition to vacate a portion of a plotted easement from Michael and Andrew Albertin, and this is in 1047 Roland Pickert Lane in Lutz. Currently, the petitioner has a 30-foot drainage easement in their backyard. They're requesting to vacate just a portion, 5 foot of it. Currently, they have a paid portion of the sidewalk. They just want to correct for an encroachment. And with that, staff does recommend approval.
Questions for staff? Questions? This is a public hearing. Is anybody here to speak to this item? Seeing none, back to the board.
Move approval.
A motion? Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. P9, and with P9, we're going to, well, we're going to go ahead and hear P, or R7 after that, yes. Proof, please, on P9?
P9 was published in the Tampa Bay Times October 13th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Ainsley Caldwell, Public Works. This is just a follow-up with regards to the Bear Creek project. At the last meeting, we were asked to determine whether or not it meets the functional criteria for Collector Road. We have gone through, and it does not. So staff is recommending that the project be approved with the information provided there. The total estimated cost is $1.8 million. The cost per ERU is $2,557. Excuse me, the discounted amount is $289,000, and the cost per ERU after the discount is $2,168.
Commissioner Mariano?
I'm going to say that I appreciate staff looking at it. I wish this had been done previously to it, instead of just coming before us, but I'm going to accept staff's recommendation as far as it not being a collector road. It would have been another 25% discount if they could have got it, but I tell you, $21.68 is still a real good value to get it done, especially because we've gone out there and looked at the drainage issues, which will get addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, I don't have anybody signed up for public hearing. Is anybody here to speak to this item?
Seeing no one, move approval.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on. P10, which that will be followed by R7.
P10 was published in the Tampa Bay Times November 8th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Mike Carvalho, Assistant County Administrator, Public Infrastructure. Just to, before I bring Justin up here, just a reminder, this is a continuance, of course, of the rate resolution hearing in conjunction with the FGUA acquisition. So Mr. Grant will come up and he will re-give his presentation that he gave to the board last time. We would ask then that you receive public comment and then discuss whether or not the rate increase would go forward. After that, we would hear R7, which was the companion piece to the finding of public interest. So the last meeting, the board did find that there was a public interest. We would ask for you at that point in time to consider to consider the the acquisition resolution and the transition agreement, which will ultimately allow the acquisition to go forward.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Starkey.
I would suggest that we see if there's anyone here that wants to speak to this before we go through the presentation again.
That's a good suggestion. Exactly what I planned on doing, so you and I are on the same page. Is there anything different in the presentation from last time? No additions.
Can you go to the mic to explain that?
Yeah, so there's only two changes in there. We added one slide that showed the difference in the affordability metrics that we kind of discussed.
Okay.
We just did the graphic representation of that. We also addressed what you had commented on last time, Commissioner Starkey, in terms of what Tampa's plans were.
Okay, so why don't you go to those two slides, so that way, since they was requested by the fellow commissioner, go to those two slides. But is there anybody here that will be speaking to this item? Is there anybody here that will be speaking to this item? I don't see any hands. Are we sure? Okay, so we're just going to go to those two slides then instead of doing the whole presentation.
Yes, sir.
Is that, as long as that's okay with everybody else?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good.
Great. So, Commissioner, as we mentioned there, this is a slide we were referencing. Just adds the top and lower tiers, talks about the affordability metrics for our rates. And currently, previously on the 19th, we had only the AWWA metric, which was the most strict metrics that it measures utilities at 2%. We also added the combined metric for EPA, which is a 2 and 2.5%. As you can see, we're well beneath that in terms of what our rate increase would bring. We're currently at 181. With the proposed increase, it would put us at 187, still below the most strict metric. Any questions?
Any questions for that? No?
Okay, great. And then the only other slide is this one. And this is the one that we updated to reflect the latest information that we have from all the regional utilities. It does not change our position relative to those utilities. We're still at the 1.5 and 3.5. The only one beneath us is Port Richey that is remaining flat.
Thank you. So I do have a comment or a question. And I do want to thank my fellow commissioners for allowing us to bring this back to both sides of the county, even though so far we don't have anybody that's, well, we'll call for it again, wanting to speak. I think it is important that as we move forward, and I know we have another one of these coming possibly next year, year after that, that we do give the opportunity for people to be heard on both sides, because this is a rate increase that affects the entire county. And this gentleman's raising his hand. I will call for public comment in a second. Thank you, sir, for raising your hand. I do want us to think about this a little bit. And so today, we sold a piece of property that utilities has that will go into your fund balance, right? So looking at future projects, one is the one that was also suggested by other commissioners, which was the one Gulf Harbors.
It's Lendrick.
Which is Lendrick, okay, thank you, which is Lendrick. And we wanted to see how we can offset some of the cost. These dollars have to stay within that fund. They cannot go to the general fund. I did already talk to staff and the county attorney's office to make sure of that. I would like you to think very closely, because we've been asking, we wanted to try to find some funds that might be able to use to offset some of the costs for our taxpayers. I think we need to look at possibly using those dollars to help bring down that contribution for our fellow citizens. So I know the money's not spent yet because it wasn't expected to come in. So you can't budget for something that's not happening, or wasn't going to happen.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, certainly, as part of the general rate-making process, we consider all aspects of revenues. This is a one-time, for example, the sale of the property to the Brooker Agency was the sale of an existing asset. Those go into the utility fund. Those funds, actually, as we build rates, are kind of already generally baked in. So as we look to future rate increases and how do we offset costs, we consider all revenue sources. So those would go to the benefit of the entire rate base at some point in time. I can't speak specifically if you're suggesting that we take those proceeds and apply it directly to this acquisition. I'm not quite sure that those numbers would really pan out to any real relief given the amount of debt that we're talking about on these systems. So, I mean, certainly when they come back into the utility fund, for example, we would probably reinvest that money into the system for additional R&R activities or capital activities. It makes its way into the general utility fund. So when you bring these systems in, there's going to be capital needs, and that's what these rate increases do. This is, again, a one-time shot, but again, it really would not provide meaningful rate reductions given the volume, given the magnitude of the numbers that we're talking about here. But it is always a consideration, and generally as we go through the rate-making process, we look at the entire pie, if you will.
No, and I definitely can appreciate that. I know the discussions we had, I had one-on-one, and we had it up on the dais during this whole process, is that we need to look at every avenue that's possible, whether it be additional, I know it's been brought up, state help, if that's possible for the next acquisition, in addition to any other funds we can find. Today, thankfully, because of the great work of staff and this board, we did sell a piece of property that wasn't being put to use at almost $3.7 million. And I think that would have a significant impact on your next possible acquisition, knowing what the price of that acquisition is. So I think that could help with that increase, because the increase is coming because we're going to have to pay off that debt, right? And that's what, I mean, any time you bring down, so it's, I mean, I'm gonna use second grade math here. And so if I'm gonna buy something for $10 and my mom gives me $2, I'm only paying $8 now out of my pocket, right?
Correct.
So that could be very helpful.
So, I mean, certainly I can have the financial staff look at that whenever we approve a rate increase. It is always up to a certain number.
Yeah.
So if.
So I'd like that to be taken into consideration. We can't make that decision here today, but we need to take that into consideration when we make that next acquisition, because I'm still not very fond of having to come back next year and do another rate increase. So, all right, so Commissioner Mariano, you've been waiting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I tell you, this is a momentous day. We've had a lot of great news from a lot of impacts. We've seen tourist development where it cuts down our taxes for our property taxes. I will tell you the value for the people in, let's say, Palm Terrace especially, where homes were being stolen, I'll say, by price-wise for like $16,000 because of the flooding that would happen, the sewer water goes in the street, and the issues that were there for the flooding, never mind all the high water rates, never mind all the people that don't water their lawns. This is going to increase property values, which will benefit all the taxpayers in the county to a major regard. And then we have that goal to be a premier county. This is a major step to do that. It's not our fault, it's not the citizens' fault that the PSC and the rates improvements that happened for the past 10 to 15 years have driven up the cost of all these things. It's just the way it's going to be. And it doesn't look like changing anytime in the near future, may even get worse. So this is a great acquisition. I think your numbers might even be better, as well as I think, Commissioner Moore, I like your idea of let's go take that money that we made on that property to find out how much money better off we'd be to affect it, just to show we're in a better financial position. And I think in the near future, maybe you can take a look at these water use rates that are going on right now and see if these numbers don't actually go up, which would actually save the taxpayers in the utility system a bit more money because of the increased revenue that's going to happen. So with that, I'm delighted. I think staff did a phenomenal job because we didn't start down this road immediately, but when we saw the public input from the public meetings, which was very well done, we found very clearly that this was an issue they did want to get taken over. So it's a great first step. So, and I want to thank the board for bringing it to this point. And Commissioner Moore, I think you're right. When we do the next one, we do need it on both sides of the county. So from one side to the other side, it's the great way to do it because it does affect everybody. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Starkey.
Yeah, I'm excited about this day too, and I used to be on the other side. But then I started talking to commissioners from around the state, and Florida had a lot of private utility companies, and most of the other counties have bought theirs out. And we just, for whatever reason, didn't negotiate well back in the day or whatever, but we went a different route. So I think that this is very timely. I still feel bad for those who have private water systems that wouldn't sell. And we have, I know of at least one in the county. And I think we should talk to our legislators about the fact that even when they raise the rates on these citizens, it seems to me that the money doesn't have to go into capital improvement. And I don't understand that. I've
You're
watched.
talking about FGUA.
No, not FGUA. Well, maybe the whole system. Yeah. I've seen where they, I used to be a customer of Aloha, and they would, what?
PSC. You're talking about the PSC, when the PSC raises rates, when
yeah.
you said the state.
When the private utility companies, I don't believe that they have to show that it's all going into capital.
Gotcha.
And these guys made a lot of money and didn't improve their systems, and now we're having to pay for that, and that needs to stop. So I'm glad that we're doing this. But I do have a suggestion and a thought on other utility-owned land. I think whenever we can, we should try and get revenue from those lands. So, we're looking at doing concessions in our Parks Department, and why not see if it's appropriate on some of our utility lands to do some concessions there.
Okay.
So,
anything that's revenue, yeah.
Offset some of the revenue.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. Before I go to the audience, is there any other questions for staff? Okay, this is a public hearing. I don't have anybody signed up. I have one gentleman that did raise his hand. So, sir, if you want to come up, name and address for the record. And if there's anybody else that would like to speak to this item, I would ask that you line up behind the gentleman that's coming to the podium now. And good morning again, or good afternoon. Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Dave Janeway, address 13227 Legends Trail, Dade City. And I apologize for wearing the hat, but my hairpiece is in the shop, so I'm going to wear that.
Good for you. That's great.
And
Go in the bank.
listen, I don't understand a lot of the stuff you guys are just talking about. All I know is that there will be a rate increase for everybody in Pasco to bring these three communities in. And on the flip side of that, it's about time that they've been brought in, because to hear that there's anybody in Pasco County that doesn't have clean water and proper sanitation, I mean, for crying out loud, it's 2019, going to be 2020. It seems like we're about 30 years behind if we have communities like that. But anyways, I want to make a point that before we raise taxes on everybody else, have we exhausted every opportunity to help to find other money to help pay for this? You know, I looked at DeSantis's budget for 2020, and sounds like he's going to lower property taxes again, or at least try.
You can't do that.
Well, that's
that's
what he's saying.
So the counties set the property tax rates. So there's no mechanism for him to actually, for the state government to lower property taxes. They would have to cut in other areas throughout the state. Regulation, number of things, I guess would be.
Yeah, they generate their revenue based on sales tax.
Sales tax and fees.
And fees.
Yeah, but.
All right, so as a taxpayer, all I know is that when I hear a politician saying that, that sounds like counties are going to go back, they're going to get funding cut in certain areas. And what are they going to do? They're going to come back and ask for a tax hike somewhere else. And I'm pretty sure that the majority of people on the board here, mostly Republican, right, or all Republican?
We can't say it up here, but you can look it up.
I did look it up, and Republicans don't raise taxes, so but we are raising taxes, right?
So today, what they're doing, and we don't usually have back and forth during public comment, but since you're the only person, I will. They are actually looking at raising the water rates, but not taxes on your millage, so which could actually go up or down. So.
Fees, taxes, it's all tax to me. I know I'm paying more money out. That's all I want to.
We appreciate it, sir.
Up,
no, thanks.
So now I'll take this bald head.
We can stay. It hasn't ended yet. Thank you, sir. I have another citizen here. Name and address for the record, please. You can pull that mic down just a little bit if you don't mind, so we can hear you.
Susanna Brand, 7611 Judith Crescent, Port Richey, Florida. At the last meeting, y'all barely touched on a surcharge for us as being new customers. I would like a better explanation on that.
Okay.
I read in your papers online that you were looking at 25%.
Okay. So after you're done speaking, I'm going to have you sit down and he can answer that, because there are probably people at home that want to hear the same answer. Is there anything else in addition to that?
No, just that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And he'll answer that. Anybody else here like to speak to this item? I think you only see staff in the audience besides that. Almost? Okay. If you could answer that question for the citizen that asked, please.
Absolutely. So yes, back in, I'll actually go back to the presentation, if you don't mind. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Sorry,
yes,
He could just, there will be no surcharge and be done.
Pardon me, sir?
He could just say there will be no surcharge and be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So the question is there a surcharge?
There is no surcharge currently.
Okay.
There was 3 alternatives considered back in February. Board elected alternative number 1, which was a one-time 2% rate increase. Does not include a surcharge on existing or acquired customers.
Okay, so the answer again is there's no surcharge on existing or new customers. That was one of the options, and that option was not chosen by the board or suggested by staff in the end. Okay. All right, so any other questions at this time for staff?
Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval. Staff's recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And this is the second half.
This is the second half.
Of what, so again,
Moving
just
back to
re-explain.
R7.
Yes, back to R7, and let's just go ahead and explain what we did last time. This is the second part of that item for R7 that we need to finish.
Yeah, that's correct. The first part of it being the determination of public interest, which was voted upon last time. So this is the remainder of that item, which is just the acquisition resolution and the transition agreement. And I'll be very brief. The acquisition resolution just documents the finding of public interest and affirms the authority of the chairman to execute the transition agreement. And the transition agreement primarily spells out the details of the transaction and the transition. The agreement also mirrors the 2008 interlocal agreement, which sets forth that the purchase price is outstanding debt plus transition costs. And the agreement sets into motion the remainder of the transition to-do items that we have on our list. They're listed on this slide. Key takeaway is that we'll take the keys to the utility around June 2020. June 1st is the target date, and shortly thereafter we will begin billing Aqua customers at the new county rate in July. In addition, improvements to the system will continue after we take the keys, including construction of the interconnects that will allow us to take the wastewater treatment systems and existing wells offline. It's important to note that the agreement that is in front of you is a little different than the one that's in the board packet. There were some negotiations that were still ongoing after the board packet was put together. The only thing that was changed was a minor change to a provision that involves escrow and verification handling. As revised, the FGA will be responsible for both verification and escrow, and the county will have the right to review and approve the final escrow deposit agreement. That's all I have, unless the board has any questions.
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Mariano?
Mr. Chairman, this has been a long process. Mr. Rogers, thank you very much. Justin, thank you for all your great work. Rob Marin, Joe Richards, and Brian Armstrong, very helpful. And with the leadership of Mike Carbella and Dan Biles to bring this forward, I'll move approval.
Second.
So it says a public hearing still? So I know
No, it's on a regular item now.
Well, we switched it. Does it go? I'm good? Okay.
You held the public hearing the last time.
Okay, just
and,
to make
and
sure.
you made the determination. So really, that's all that's before you is
Okay.
the transition agreement.
Okay.
And
Make sure.
so you're good.
Okay, I have a motion. Do you have a
And a
comment
second.
before this? There's a
And a
second.
Discussion. So, Mr. Rogers, the change that you outlined is to paragraph 16.
That's correct.
It's the red line that has been distributed to
That
those.
is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and unless there's something that snuck up on me, I think that's it for our public hearing items. So we would go to miscellaneous business. Commissioner Oakley.
Yes, sir. I've had a vacancy on the Commission on the Status of Women, and I'd like to recommend that Jean Nathy to fill the District 1 seat vacancy.
Second. I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay.
Trying to think of some other things that go on. Well, the snow park has had a ribbon cutting, so they'll be making snow probably I don't think it'll be this year. It's been too hot. So maybe next year they'll make some snow. So, but things have been moving along. They planted the trees in the buffer areas around that project, and of course those trees are growing. So sometime next year, I believe they hope to open that up. So it'll be a good new attraction and it'll bring people into Pasco County. So
Thank you, sir.
that's all I have.
Commissioner Starkey.
I have a lot, I'm sorry.
You gotta be somewhere too.
Yeah, but we did so well, I think I'm fine. So I did I had a contractor come in my office whose grandson is homeless in the Holiday area. And he led a whole bunch of us on a tour around Southwest Pasco. Unfortunately, he was very soft-spoken, and not everyone in all the cars could hear all the stories he was telling me. But we went to a couple of homeless camps and a couple of businesses where they congregate, and a couple of blocks where there seems to be a congregation of homeless folks. It was very sad. I've been very troubled by that day, because I just wish I knew how to help those people. Some of them I've seen over and over again at that bus stop in front of the Wawa. Kathy, you were there. And I appreciate all the staff that came with us, but this one here, this is our property. This photo. This is the second time I've been out there and it's looked like this with all different stuff. I didn't put all the photos up, but I had a lunch meeting with Mike Carball, and we're trying to figure out, I'm pretty sure that this property has a conservation easement on it, and so we therefore cannot grub it. We cannot do anything but go pick up this garbage and let it, and I guess let it happen over and over. This is right next door to Sunray Elementary, by the way. And last time I was there, it was full of hypodermic needles. I did not see any this time. If it is utilities-owned property, and apparently they have some in that area that has a water pipeline going through it, we can clear it. But I don't know if the remedy is to put a fence around this, but I just hate to see this happening on our property over and over. It actually gets wet in here in a real rainy season, and then this stuff starts moving in the water. So I do need staff to go out here off of Sunray Boulevard and pick this up again, please. So we also found a homeless camp on Trouble Creek, and we cannot call in that complaint apparently because you can't see it from the road. So I was told that it has to be someone from a neighboring property. Well, that's what, you were there, right? That's what they said. Either the sheriff's office or our code enforcement office said, we cannot turn in that homeless camp. That it has to be visible from the road or someone on neighboring. Yeah, so we own the property in front of the Trouble Creek camp, which is not a conservation property. I don't know why we own it, but we either have to have the, I don't know what Danny is here. We either have to have the property that the homeowner or property owner to the east of it went ahead and cleared their property and put a fence around it to stop this problem on their property, or it backs up to a couple houses on the west side, and one of those folks have to call it in and complain. There were 3 tents in that one, right? So, so we're working on getting the.
Commissioner, this is our property?
No,
that the homeowner-
our property, they walk through our property to get to this property. It's a private property. It's private property.
But it's visible from our property?
Yeah, I guess it would be if you stood on the edge of our well, I would have to see where the property line was, but our property is heavily vegetated.
The issue is, from a legal standpoint, we can't prosecute a case that we've trespassed to see the violation. That's what you're being told. Okay. So it's not a matter of calling it in per se. It's a matter of observing the violation. You can't be on someone else's property that you don't have permission for to observe the violation.
Okay, I have no idea where our property line is and if it's heavily vegetated, where that heavy vegetation blocks your view.
Right.
So we need staff to look at that one too, and we'll get you the address on Trouble Creek. Let's see, at the FAC conference, there was, did we talk about this last time? That Hillsborough County was trying to push something through that Pasco County would not have been happy about. Is Ralph here?
He's in Tallahassee.
Okay, so Ralph and our staff got together and we killed the motion by Hillsborough County. But House Bill 715 has been put into effect, has been filed by Randy Maggard, and this is a bill that we do like. We've been assured that this bill will not violate the interlocal agreement with Tampa Bay Water, but we need to have regular updates on House Bill 715. I have been getting emails from my constituents about a 15-minute backup on the intersection of Trinity Boulevard and East Lake Road. At FAC, I did have conversations with Commissioner Eggers and the Pinellas County Administrator, and someone, I don't even remember who it was, told me they thought they had an idea that would help this intersection. It's in Pinellas County, it's not in Pasco County. But it is greatly affecting our citizens, and they send me pictures and Waze maps, and I started taking some of mine at 7:30 in the morning. It's backed up for miles. So we need a solution for that intersection, and we're still getting flack from our last Tampa Bay T-BARTA meeting that we held in our conference room, because it wasn't live streamed. It was a fluky thing. You know, I have a new assistant. She talked to IT and they said everything was set, but apparently we don't have filming availability on Fridays unless we specially ask for it. So the USF gentleman was gone and we ended up taping it and then giving it to T-BARTA. This is the second or third meeting that they brought it up, and now they've had a vote at the last meeting that they won't go to a county that cannot live stream and cannot allow for call-in on a conference-style phone. So I did text the administrator about this, and so we need to be able to confirm that we can have a phone that someone can hear all the voices and interact during a meeting, or we'll have to drive to all the other counties for the meeting. So I'm hoping we can get that resolved. It seems like it's something IT could do for those kind of meetings. I know I myself have tried to call in and listen to a meeting if I was out of town or something, and you can't do it because you have to have someone put a phone by something. But we need some kind of sound system. The gentleman that was here from Rooker, when I told him about AmSkills, he was so excited that we're talking about maybe putting one in his building. And he thinks that would be a humongous asset to help him bring manufacturing companies down. He said because their biggest problem is workforce. And the realtor already contacted me that is the commercial or industrial realtor for the Tampa Bay area to find out more about AmSkills so he can use it as a tool for bringing companies here. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I went to the ribbon cutting of the Hampton Inn in Odessa, and they built that hotel in 10 months. The company, the guy said it was unprecedented. They built it so fast, it was ready to open before they had ordered the furniture. And they said it was one of their best experiences ever in building a hotel. And that they couldn't give enough accolades to our staff here in the county. So thank you all. It was amazing to hear that. And the room was packed. And that hotel was already filling up, and all those people that were checking in, and a lot of them were businessmen, were hearing the guys, the partnership who put the hotel together, say these great things about our county. So really, congratulations to everybody. Yesterday, I was driving south on Starkey Boulevard and turning right onto 54, and I watched a car almost kill a bike rider, or hit a bike rider who had to swerve. They both swerved very quickly to get out of the way of each other. So I texted Secretary Gwynn and Sam, and staff was out there today to see what they could do, because apparently there are a lot of people already riding that bike trail, even though it's not open, And it was crazy what I saw. I don't know why it was happening. I think there was a car that was parked in the bike crossing or pedestrian crossing, and so the cyclist had weaved around a car, but we almost don't even have the trail open and almost had a serious injury. I also talked to Secretary Gwynn about what I think will be a very cheap fix for the Suncoast and 54. Just like we did on US 41 and 54, it's made a humongous difference. When you're driving east to get to the Suncoast or to get past the Suncoast and you turn into the Target, which isn't even open, you cannot continue on the turn lane because there's some white, I don't know what you call those, ballards?
Markers, yeah.
Ballards? Blocking the through right turn lane, but you can see that the whole right turn lane is empty. So DOT is looking at taking those ballards out and making that a through right turn, and I think it'll save a lot of time. I know there's some safety issues. What? Why?
No, we can talk later.
But that would really help with that backup, because that's the next, I think, biggest backup in the county. I also was contacted by a gentleman who wants to bid on our bus bench advertising, and apparently we don't put those out to bid.
Yes, we do.
It's kind of crazy, but in Florida, there's a statute that says a municipality or county may authorize the installation without public bid of benches and transit shelters together with advertising displayed thereon within the right-of-way limits of such roads. So I would like to be sure that we do put that out to bid. I was involved in that ordinance years ago, writing that ordinance, and
We put, it's been, since I've been here, it's probably 4 years ago, there was an RFP that went out, and we actually changed the company that is doing the bus benches from.
Right. Used to be Metropolitan.
Used to be Metropolitan, just to another.
It's a Canadian company.
Another
Yeah.
vendor, yeah.
So that contract's coming up in January, so I'd just like to be, it expires in January, so I just want to be sure that we're putting that to bid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. Now, my assumption is we were probably most all reached out by it was on my calendar, but yeah, I don't know if it was, the contract ends in January. It would have to go out to bid before that, though.
Yeah, I think it's already out for bid.
The contract
Expires
in January.
Yes.
That would be
That'd be a
PCPT's procurement.
So it's a bench, so it'd be.
So I believe facilities is handling that, and
Okay.
from what I'm understanding, we are going to be bringing back, I don't think we'll have time, like you're saying, to go out for RFP, so I know Kurt's, when we're working with facilities, to possibly extend the contract to see if we can go for RFP or quote.
And I've heard a rumor, could be unsubstantiated, that they haven't fulfilled their contract duties. So I'd like that to be checked.
Well, that would, any contract extension would have to come in front of this board.
Correct.
Right? Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Wells.
Thank you, Chairman. I had the opportunity yesterday to go present the resolutions we signed back in November for two young ladies at Animal Services that volunteered over 7,000 hours. It was a great, they had their meeting and everybody was there, the entire team. Dan was there, Kathy was there, Mike, and it was great to have an opportunity to tell all of them thank you. To give you an idea, and I know Commissioner Starkey and Commissioner Mariano have been here long enough since we changed it to 90% live release rate is our goal. But last fiscal year, they hit 95% for dogs, and so far this fiscal year they're at 96%. So it was neat for me to be able to sit there and listen to Mike and his team, and the camaraderie is unbelievable, and it's not easy what they do. Obviously, it's a highly stressful job, but it was great for me to thank all of them on behalf of us for what they do. So it was, they really did a great job. It was great for me to be out there. And to give you an idea, volunteer hours for fiscal 2019, they had over 21,000 volunteer hours. So without the volunteers, we can't do what we do. So just want to take an opportunity to tell them thank you again. And I got a letter from a young lady yesterday, 97 years old, 97 years young, that rides our bus to see friends and church functions. And her exact words for me is the drivers treat me like family. I just want to make it, because it seems like we always hear the negatives, you know, how kind of how it is with everything, but it was neat for this lady to take the time. Old school, write a letter, you know, the old school writing, very great lady. So I'm going to reach back out to her and send it to Kurt so Kurt can reach out, but to make sure he gives his kudos to his team. So I just wanted to let you know that. So that's it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Wells. Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say to Mike Carbella and his team over at Country Club Estates, they're doing a phenomenal job redoing all the work up there, getting the Beacon Woods Walmart preparation ready, which great news on that, as well as we're looking at February 2020 to have the first 2 parts of that stuff to get started. So it's going to be a great boost. Got a call the other day from the Rope Center. When the Axe Center burnt down across from Beacon Woods, they get a lot of people. They can't take care of all the people that are there. So I think we need to look closer at what we're going to do there. It may be time to maybe speed up I know at the meeting we were at the Homeless Coalition, Kathy and I were there. We talked about doing that point in time count in February, but the people are scared of what's going to happen if the people don't get food. And last night at Leisure Beach, whereas at the Civic Association meeting, they were like afraid, you know, what are you going to do? You know, the food source is gone. What's going to happen next? And the Sheriff's Department was there talking about how to be safe, et cetera. So I think it's something we need to take a close look at. I know in the point in time count for the first time, they're going to ask this question, which I asked them about, and they actually liked the idea, was to find out where these people are coming from. I mean, I've heard stories of people coming from North Carolina being referred to Pasco County. I've heard people being bused here and dropped off here, and you know, I'm all for taking care of the ones that are ours that are here and trying to help with them. But as far as if I get people coming from bus from out of town, that's a burden I don't think our taxpayers want to be stuck with.
In the news today, New Jersey, a city in New Jersey sued New York because they were giving them, getting them apartments, or helping pay for down payments of apartments or something in New Jersey, and they sued. Yeah.
And then that may be happening here as well. So I think it'd be good maybe if, Kathy, maybe if your team would maybe go to the Rope Center and let's kind of like start that point in time count right now, and let's find out where these people are coming from. Because I think with the economy the way it is, there's great opportunities are out there. I know the Rope Center does a great job. Metropolitan Ministries does a great job. The people at the Holy Ground are taking in people that really struggle on different issues. I know we're still working on getting the Sun Coast Recovery Center up to where they can actually start building. They've done demolition work, but they still need to bring this stuff forward. So again, it's going to be something to keep an eye on.
So Commissioner, I know that, what is that noise we're hearing, by the way?
The construction.
Oh, is that so? Okay. There was the facility in Separate Hills that had some issues. I remember meeting with that gentleman, and he said the majority of people that were there were actually at his facility. I'm not saying across the county. At his facility were actually from out of state.
Out of state?
Yeah. They came down here from out of state. Yeah. They weren't local. They had come down here. Yeah, that's what he said. Because I asked him, how many people from Pasco County would you consider, you know, about how many people from Pasco County, how many people from outside the area? He said, the majority was outside the area. They came down here.
I mean, I tell you, even people at hospitals up in Lakeland, they're calling the Rope Center to see if they can bring people over there. It just doesn't make sense. So I think that'll be helpful. I think the invasive species ordinance that we've submitted would be a good thing to bring forward. So we do have these people that are housing them on property, that we can go clear out the bushes and at least be able to identify them and deal with that. On another note, Nye Florida is a private utilities water company in Hudson, Florida. I think it really restricts a lot of growth because people don't want to pay the fees that's so high for the sewer treatments there. Hudson Waterworks is very reasonable as far as the pricing goes, but Nye is like extremely high. And I think that we should take a look at trying to buy them again. We tried it under Flip Mellinger from before. I think it's time to do it again. Brian Armstrong asked him to hang in here just for a little bit because he's got a relationship with the attorney that actually represents him and tried dealing with him before under Flip, but I think we should give it another try to see if we can bring them to the table rather than going through some of these long, drawn-out processes.
The more rate increases.
But we have a schedule, and they'd have to get in line with the schedule we already have.
Well, it's not even, it's, like the FGA, I get all that, but I'm just saying, this may be a time to go try to look at Nye again. There's some legislation going on in Tallahassee that could make these utilities even more expensive to buy. We're not in the push with the other one, but I think it's at least, we should go take a look and see if we can negotiate with them, and let us bring back something.
How do you spell that?
Nye, Florida. Doctor, any person up in Hudson that's got water bills up there that deal with the sewer thing? I mean, take a look at even Hudson Beach. I think it was closed 250 times this year or something crazy. There's sewer lines that are up there, there's conversions that were supposed to happen. I don't think we converted all of them from what they told me. I just think we do a much better job. We might be able to get even state help, knowing we can actually even tie it to water quality to try to get some assistance. But I think we should at least try. And again, with Brian's expertise and relationship, we might be able to make something happen. That will take a motion from the board to go. I don't know if I get support.
I don't think you need a motion just for him to
No, I agree with this.
look at it.
Right. So do we need to make a motion, Mr. Steinschneider, or can we just?
I think
It's not action.
as long as the administrator has direction to pursue it.
Yeah, we can look.
Okay. All right, good. All right, and that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biles.
I don't have anything today.
Mr. Steinschneider.
I don't have anything today.
Madam Clerk.
I do not have anything today.
Look at you guys. I'm just going to be real quick. Just want to thank the team and my fellow commissioners again for your great support of the Universal Playground. Obviously, we know it opened last week. Amazing turnout. Great turnout from the community, too, wasn't it? And just a quick couple little stories. If you notice, there was quite a few children there, and they came from John Law Middle School. And I was talking to the assistant principal, and she was pointing out a couple of the kids that had never participated before at their playground. One little boy she mentioned, for example, that was just typically just, if he was outside or doing anything, he was really focused just on playing like with a water bottle. She had never seen him on a piece of equipment. Another child typically would be outside and would, you know, just for her own reasons be screaming a lot and just be overly excited, but not in the fun way, right? She pointed her out. She was on the equipment just having a great time laughing and enjoying herself. So just at that moment, you know, I looked at myself and thought to myself, I should say that, wow, it was all worth it right there, wasn't it? And I know the commissioners that were able to make it, I know everybody wasn't able to make it that day. I mean, you saw it firsthand, and we were able to participate with some of these children. And just think about, you know, what everybody did to change those children's lives. And it changed it right there. You think about all the time and energy people put into therapy throughout the years, and there were successes right then and there. 15 minutes after they got there. 15 minutes after they got there.
Just there,
yeah. Oh yeah. I had to walk away. Yeah. I was getting a little emotional. But well worth it. I said, man, if just these, you know, 30, 50 kids, whatever they were that day, and it changed them just for that moment, it was worth it. But we know it's going to have a positive impact on many, many children throughout the year. So again, I thank you all for that. And I think you'll be hearing more about something coming up in the near future on another one. So with that, I did want to mention this to, you know, Kathy and your team, C19. I know we didn't poll it today because we were trying to get through the day, but Animal Services Partnership, if you didn't see that, it was a partnership with the TLC PetSnip, if I'm not correct. We did approve that. They are a nonprofit spay and neutering service that offers low-cost services for citizens with animals in the county. He's actually getting paid rent from the leased space out and using that facility, and they'll provide the service that we normally have. And we have to hire our in-house veterinarians. This actually does save the taxpayers funds, save some money, but we're still providing a very, very good service, I think, on a more regular basis, if I'm not correct. Is that right? Okay. So kudos to you and your team, and Mike, just tell him we say thank you for that. And one thing, because I wanted to bring this up because it does affect Commissioner Oakley, it goes into your district too. Just something, Mr. Biles too, Andy's already reaching out to staff to have this conversation. but I have had quite a few conversations with citizens along Old Pasco recently. I know we're making the intersection improvements at Old Pasco and Quail Hollow, and also where Oakwood comes in, but it's a very, very dangerous area still. I know we're going to start construction, if I'm not correct, later this fiscal year, but it may be 2021 until it's finished. If there's any way we could possibly look at, when you're going north on Old Pasco, there's a left, and turning left on Quail Hollow, that's where the majority of the problems are. There's no left turn signal there. There's a turn signal coming the other way, but not there, and that's where the majority of the traffic is going. That's where the majority of the accidents are happening, and it's very difficult to see. I don't know if there's a way to get a temporary signal there. If you're able to do that with the current signal that's there, if they could add a left turn.
Have you talked to Margaret Smith?
Look at it. Well, so we're arranging that now, but I did want to.
Okay.
I wanted to bring it up because even though that's right, not your district, but it leads to a lot of your citizens
Oh,
in that
yeah,
area.
that's right.
So I know they're concerned about it too. But I would like us to look into that. If we could do it at least temporarily, I really think it could possibly save some lives, but definitely could bring down the accidents. And now we have school buses going through there on a regular basis too, which it makes it even more difficult. So if we could look at that, that could be at least a temporary solution until that intersection is completed. I'd appreciate it. And with that, we're adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Great meeting.
And we're back.